Yo, what's up? My name is MTG, and are you sick of playing these same old cards in every commander deck just to add consistency? The same old, same old. You want to draw cards. You want to do your favorite thing in all of Commander in Magic the Gathering. You want to play Brainstorm, Big Score, Rich Cards Expertise. Yes, these are some of your best options in those specific colors to draw lots of cards very quickly, and yes, they're very powerful. But they're also boring, lame, seen them once, you see them again, they all do the same thing, who gives a crap? Sometimes you want to shake things up and do a similar activity, one of the funnest activities, drawing cards, but do it in a new light. So I delved through the jungles and traversed through the canyons and found all of the cards that draw a card on Scryfall and made a list of 100 underrated card draw options in Commander. Now, I'm going to be honest, calling some of these cards underrated is a little bit of a stretch, as we see things here like Hunter's Insight, a pretty well-known card at 3%. That's reaching the mainstream at that point, but it's still, in my opinion, underplayed given the number of decks it could go in. So you'll see some cards here like Hunter's Insight at 3%, and then you'll see a lot of cards here like Predict at 0.06%, or some even less. There's going to be cards in all different colors. There's going to be cards that do all types of different things. There's going to be 1 CMC, 6 CMC. If it's cool and it draws cards, it's probably on this list. And I'm hopeful there is something here for everyone. In the top right-hand corner of your screen, you can actually find a quick breakdown of all the different colors of cards in this list. Obviously, blue is going to win out. It's a video about drawing cards. But once again, I hope there's a few suggestions for every type of player and every color. If you find something useful here today, make sure to leave a like on the video to let me know and consider subscribing on this new and growing Magic channel. But most importantly, it's an honor to be here and talk about Magic cards. We have 100 cards to talk about, so let's get started. Plop this on your second monitor, grab a drink and a snack, and let's jump into things. All right, but card number one we are talking about today is going to be Predict. 1 colorless and 1 blue for an instant that says choose a card name, and then target player puts the top card of their library into the graveyard, and if that card has the same chosen name, you draw 2 cards, otherwise you draw 1 card. I think Predict, so this card used to get played nichely in things like Miracles and Legacy if you were brave enough, or certain like niche little formats. I think in the world of Surveil lands, in the world of, I think a lot of times people go budget, I go budget land bases in Commander because that's not the place where I want to spend a bunch of money on lands. I save that money in that budget for things like Legacy, Vintage, yada yada yada. When I'm playing Commander, I'm there to have some fun and be a little more casual. I'll end up playing the Scry lands, right? So in a world with Surveils, also in a world where like Surveil is kind of tacked onto a bunch of cards as an extra effect. How many of you play a card where like, oh, you kill a creature and it says, oh, Surveil 2, sure, like that's kind of the new mechanic, right? People love surveilling and it's a fun mechanic. It's super powerful. It's a kind of ramped up scry in a lot of ways. In the modern era of surveils all over the place, fetch into surveil lands if you do that, scry lands if in the budget, place, or even other people. It doesn't have to be yourself. Predict is really cool because you can name yourself, and obviously if you have manipulation over the top of your deck, work with that, or if someone else is playing, Future Sight. I'm always terrible on thinking of the names of cards off the top of my head. But there are certain cards that will, reveal the top card of your opponent's decks at all times. Courser of Crew Fates, right? Like things like that. I think that those don't come up all the time, but they can help you. Worst case scenario with Predict is really good in like monocolored decks. Worst case, if you have no top deck manipulation, you could always just name Island, right? If you're a mono blue deck, you could always name Island. And if you're playing a properly built Commander deck, there's probably about a 40% chance you hit Island and now you're drawing 2 cards. A lot of this video is going to be talking about the rates of mana for drawing cards. If you don't know, 2 mana for 1 card is not, it's a cycle. It's not ideal. That shouldn't be all a card is doing, but it's something, it's something, right? And then 2 mana for 2 cards is very good. That is very above the curve, obviously. You run into things like 3 mana for 2 cards is not something you want to be playing, but it is also kind of the curve. It's like Divination, right? Is 3 mana for 2 cards. You'll get into, is it Jace's Ingenuity? That's like 5 mana to draw 3 cards. Hopefully you're doing less than that, but there's a curve when it comes to mana output per cards being drawn. Predict being 2 mana per 1 card is very, very good. If you can stick to 1 mana per 1 card being drawn, that is usually extremely powerful and something you want to keep an eye on, even if the effect is niche and can't always be hit. So sometimes you might be drawing 1 card with Predict, Predict is also a good skill learning card, I think, in Magic the Gathering, where it teaches you to not always just jam your card drawing. A lot of players, a lot of newer players will just play the spells whenever they can. If they have the mana, they want to be mana efficient and use their spells. Sometimes you want to hold things and wait a little bit longer and extract maximum value. But moving on, probably onto one of the most popular cards on this list, but I still think it's underplayed. I think Hunter's Insight is either the best or second best card draw in green. I think that Harmonize, I'm a Harmonize hater. I'm sorry. I think this card is just too slow in Modern Magic. Yes, it's consistent. I respect if you play Harmonize, I get it. I'm not going to argue you to like stop playing it, but I don't play Harmonize in any decks. I think it is too slow. It's just, yes, it's consistent. It's just not enough though. I don't think it's worth the slot. I'd rather at that point just be behind or try to find some other way to crawl back. I don't think Harmonize is it. I think it's way too slow. 4 mana for 3 cards. Hunter's Insight, 3 mana, 2 and 1 green for an instant. Choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or a planeswalker, draw that many cards. If you can cast this on a 3/3, congrats, you've gotten your value. Like, I think often with cards like Hunter's Insight, we try to extract maximum. Oh, get 7 cards, 8 cards, you know, crazy amounts of card draw. If you can just Hunter's Insight for like 2 or 3, that's fine. That's totally fine, right? If you can Hunter's Insight, like that's going to happen. The worst case scenario, you're Hunter's Insighting for 2 or 3. I mean, really worst case, you have no creature on the board. But if you're playing Hunter's Insight in a deck and you have no creature on the board, that's probably some bigger fish to fry at that point. But best case scenario, you're drawing 7, 8, 12 cards with this. Like, this card can be consistent card draw if you cast it on a 3-power creature or win you the game. I think this card is just, to me, this card is Harmonized but better in any deck that's playing a relevant enough creature, which you're playing green. If you don't have a creature on board, what do you do? Let's say like the opponent's just Farewelled or something, but like even then, like, come on, we got to be back on the board, right? So Hunter's Insight, I think it should be played way more than Harmonized, probably like a 10% mark or something like that. All right, next up, one of my favorite cards on this whole list. I think Painful Truths should be played in every single black deck that is 3 or more colors. I think I'm that high up on Painful Truths. If Harmonize, which Harmonize is not on this list, I only put Harmonize, I only covered Harmonize literally just to flame it, so sorry to the Harmonize supporters out there, catching some strays, but I think it's good for a lot of card draw is good context, all good for contextual understanding. Painful Truths, if you don't know, I remember this card was printed in Battle for Zendikar. 2 and 1 black for a sorcery. You draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. You should play this in every single 3-color black deck or more. Being able to pay 3 mana and 3 life to draw 3 cards is just so good. I had buddies experimenting playing this in Legacy back in the day. It never really quite made. I think playing one of this in old like Esper Miracles honestly would have been super interesting, but we never really saw that. Was a little too slow for Legacy, honestly, but it was cool. It's such a refill. Like, drawing 3 cards is just such a damn jolt to your hand. It is truly such a refill for 3 mana. I think this card is fantastic. I'm very, very high up on Painful Truths. I think this card is just the bonkers. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's premier card draw when it comes to Commander. I'm really, really high up on Painful Truths. Next up, Winds of Change. 1 red mana for a sorcery. Each player shuffles the cards from their hand into their library and draws that many cards. Just a wheel style effect, but you don't draw 7, you draw equal to. It can disrupt your opponent. It can be I think wheels are fun. I think more people should play a little bit more wheels in your average decks. I think they're fun political tools. I think they're fun if you are either flooding or droughting and you want to try to take another stab at it. I think they're really fantastic. You don't go card positive. I think that's you have to factor in wheels shouldn't be played willy-nilly because they don't go card positive, but I think one wheel in a deck, especially depending on the type of deck, whether it's combo based or I think one wheel is fine. I think one wheel is fun. Number one, I think it shakes things up. I think it's interesting. It can disrupt your opponents. It can help your opponents. You have to be a little bit coordinated with when you cast this card and how you cast this card and all of those things. You don't even need, like, synergy is obviously nice if you have when you draw a card, everyone loses a life or whatever. Like, that's Nekazar style effects. They're nice, but I don't think you necessarily need them to play like one wheel. I would not play more than one wheel in a deck without any sort of synergies. I think that gets a little crazy really quickly, but I think one wheel per deck is fun. I think it's interesting, and it can take a game where you would have been out of that game for a bit and then kind of put you back into it through some bad RNG. So I think Winds of Change is really cool. There's also much better arts. I don't really care for this art of Winds of Change, respectfully. It's only in 1.33% of decks, by the way. I like the Legends art. I like the this one, my favorite, Portal. This is a beautiful, the ship, dude. I love this. Winds of Ship, the axes and like swords and bow and arrow floating around. This it's so cool, man. The ship. And then this horse. There's some cool arts. If you don't, I don't really care for this art. So if you prefer the different style of things, there are different options. But moving on. Next up, this card. I think I've never heard of this card until doing research for this video. Bequeathal is, I believe, how you say this. Bequeathal. 1 green mana, enchant creature. If enchant creature is put into a graveyard, draw 2 cards. This is 1 mana to draw 2 cards. But you have to either sacrifice the creature, you know, chump block. You have to like do a little bit more. It's 1 mana to draw 2 cards, but you're putting in a little bit of extra effort. I think people see this card and they see it as an enchantment aura. It's a one-time use. Oh, it's going to fall off afterwards, and they stay away from it. But if I told you, if this was an instant or sorcery that said 1 green mana, draw 2 cards, would you play it? Right? Or even imagine this. Imagine it said 1 green mana, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. Would you play it? I think a lot of people would. I think that's absolutely a card that a lot of people would play. I think Bequeathal is like super omega underrated. I think a lot of people just don't know about it, haven't heard about it. I hadn't heard about it prior to this video. I think Bequeathal is actually sick. It's no Skull Clamp. It's no, you know, don't get me wrong. This list is card draw alternatives, but I think Bequeathal is kind of sweet, man. It's kind of a sweet card. So, and it's super cheap. Check it out. Next up, Bedlam Reveler. This is a very narrow card. This goes in very specific styles of decks. Let's get that out of the way quickly. It is 6 colorless and 2 red, but it costs much less than that. Don't worry. 6 colorless and 2 red. You should be casting this for just 2 red mana. It is a 3/4 creature. It costs 1 less generic mana for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. Yes, this is a spell slinger style of creature. It is only played in 0.13% of decks. When this creature enters, you discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. This is a spell slinger, or even like mono red, maybe potentially mono red like spell slinger though. That'd be like kind of niche, but like more blue red. This is a blue red spell slinger like top end card, where you want to be playing this towards the end of your combo to refuel. This was played, I believe, in standard and in certain like more limited formats at the time. It was experimented a ton in I don't know if it ever made it to modern, but it was being experimented in modern if I recall correctly. Bedlam Reveler, very cool card, definitely underplayed at that 0.13%. A narrow card, don't get me wrong, but 0.13%, come on, right? Bewildering Blizzard. I had great success with this card in limited, and that is obviously a very different environment from Commander, don't get me wrong, but I think this card is actually sick. It's 6 mana, 4 and 2 blue, so that's a lot, right? But if you can reduce it down to like 4 mana, I think that's really sick. Draw 3 cards. 6 mana to draw 3 cards is not good. At instant speed, that actually is like not awful, but you wouldn't want the card to just do that. Creatures your opponents control get -3/-0 until end of turn against certain decks in certain strategies. This is a fog plus draw 3. This is a combat trick plus draw 3. Oh, let's say you have a bunch of creatures, your opponent have a bunch of creatures, but they're a little bit bigger than all of yours. You can -3 all of them, kill all of their creatures while keeping all of yours alive, or at least majority of them or some of them. This changes the way the game flows. Also, this is a political tool. This is an instant speed card that says creatures your opponents control, all of them. Not just not creatures target opponents control. It's a very important reading thing on this. It is creatures your opponents control. Let's say you're playing Commander. It's a 4-pod game. You're player C and you have player A who attacks player B and D, right? Well, now you can -3/-0 all of their creatures and really fuck with them. Or if you have player A who attacks, you know, all 3 of the other guys, you're also getting attacked, but the other 2 guys, you know, you can kind of play. So there's a lot of like political tools and ways to abuse this and put yourself at the advantage or just do some shenanigans. I think this card is honestly like a really sick Commander card in 0.08% of decks. Come on, it's underrated. It's underrated. It's a cool option. This is a card that I'm not super, I mean, you know what, I'll defend it. I'm not super high on this, but you know what, baloney. I think this card's actually pretty solid. Blitzball, 3 mana. I just don't think the era of Darksteel Ingots and Commander Spheres is quite over. I kind of like them still. I still really like Artifact Ramp, and especially even 3 mana ones with different effects. but it depends on your metagame. If you see a lot of farewells, if you see a lot of board wipes that destroy all non-land permanents and not just creatures, that is where artifact ramp becomes a lot less effective. So if you're seeing a lot of that, you know, maybe play less of this. But if you don't see a lot, if you see a lot of like blasphemous acts, damnations, you know, wrath of gods, if that's your meta, which I prefer to play, if that's your meta game, throw out some blitz balls, man. 3 colorless mana for a mana, you know, a mana rock, adds 1 mana of any color. But if you can deal combat damage with a legendary creature, oh, it turns out we're playing, you know, Commander, the game with everybody gets a legendary creature on a stick, right? If you deal damage with a legendary creature, now you can sacrifice it and draw 2 cards for 0 mana cost. That's what's really relevant there. I think this card is solid, man. I think it's a lower power card. Don't get me wrong. A lot of these cards are lower power, but I think it's fun. I think it's fun. Plus, the real upside, you can stream goal at the top of your lungs when you do it. Come on, isn't that the incentive people needed? Anyways, moving on. Blitzball is a pretty cool option. Brain Geyser. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't understand why Brain Geyser is played so little. I think there are some other cards that have to do a similar thing. I always think of Blue Sun's Zenith, which is an instant, which is the main benefit, but it costs 1 more blue mana, and it's a instant, and it shuffles back. The shuffle back in effect is like mostly irrelevant in Commander. That's nice in like brain freeze like storm style decks in 60 card, but in Commander, like that, the shuffle effects are relevant. I'm happy to pay, like, the fact that this is 1 less mana than Blue Suns is so nice. It's a sorcery speed card, which is relevant. It's also the sick art, beautiful art. 0.18%. Come on, like, really? I'm shocked by that. 0.18. I'm not saying this should be played, like, this is not like really a spell slinger card, depending on how much mana you develop, maybe as like a top end thing potentially, but this is more of like a late game control-y, like long-term blue style, maybe combo depending on what you're doing, obviously. Brain Geyser is 2 blue and X, draw X cards, or force opponents draw X cards. Target player draws X cards. I think this card's sick. I think it's solid. I think it's 1 less mana than Blue Suns. Check out Brain Geyser, really cool card. Now, this is probably a card that I'm the least high up on this list, probably one of my lower suggestions, to be honest with you, but I still think it's a relevant card. It depends on your land base and stuff like that. 3 colorless mana for a mana rock that adds 1 mana of any color. You can pay 7 and sacrifice this artifact to draw X cards, where X is the number of different named lands, the number of differently named lands you control. You know what? As I'm convincing myself, as I'm reading them, wait a minute, this card's actually better than I remember. If you are running a deck that ends up out of gas, or if you're in a very long-term grindy game, I think a lot of times Commander games nowadays do end, rather than you running out of gas, I think most Commander games probably end from a player doing their thing before the other players do their thing. Does that make sense? But if you're in a meta game where players are running out of gas, 7 mana to draw potentially 7, 8, 9, 10 cards. Like, most people, mana bases these days, nobody plays basic. Even if you're playing budget Commander, you're not playing many basic lands. I love basic lands probably more than the average person, and my basic land count has come down a lot over the years. There's just so many budget options. There are fetchable 25-cent, you know, dual lands, right? There are so many budget options. And that's also one of the positives. I love the Critique Wizards. That's one of the amazing positives they've done over the past 5 to 10 years, is printing way more budget lands. It used to be like the Gain Life lands and then Guild Gates. That was it. Like 10 years ago, it was Gain Life lands and Guild Gates, and that was like your budget, you know, dual lands. Nowadays there is so much, dude. There's so much, man. So I think this is all, like, most of the lands you're playing are all gonna have different names. You're probably drawing 7, 8, 9, 10 cards off this if the game goes that late. But I think this is a really powerful, honestly, effect to have just on the bottom of a mana rock already. I think this card's honestly kind of neat, definitely worth considering. Next up, Combustible Gearhawk. Now, this card is decently played, I've got to say. It is 4 colorless and 2 red for a first strike 6/6 creature. When it enters, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If that player does it, you mill 3 cards and you do a bunch of damage to them. Combustible Gearhawk deals damage to that player equal to the total CMC of those cards. 6 mana for a 6/6 creature that draws 3 is ridiculous. That is insane. Your opponents are probably going to have the damage come at them most of the time, but if you get them low enough before that, you know, this is the perfect finisher. I play this in Maelstrom Wander and I find amazing success with it. I think this card is sick. I think a lot of people, Commander players, are selfish. You might already know this, but like a lot of them are gonna be like, oh, I'm I'm gonna take damage so that you don't draw 3 cards, whereas those 3 cards could go kill the other 2 players as opposed to me. Go ahead and draw 3 cards, you know, like meanwhile you're like getting closer to like just winning the game outright, you know. Commander player, it's like the heuristic study. They don't want to pay the 1, they don't want to pay it. So like I think a lot, you'd be surprised, I would say, playing this in Maelstrom Wanderer myself a ton, you would be surprised at how often your opponents let you draw 3 cards in my experience. Holy, this is gonna be a long video if I don't pick things up at a faster pace. Let's go ahead and keep going, boys. Next up, this is a fun card, man. Cruel Bargain. I believe this is card number 12 on our list. Not the best card on this list, but a fun card, and it's at 0.02% inclusion. It's got cool art. It's from Portal. Come on. It's 3 black mana for a sorcery. Draw 4 cards. 3 mana for 4 cards? That's so good. Surely there's no downside. You lose half your life. Just half, you know. It's not a big deal, guys. It definitely don't think about the fact that Commander is a format where you start with a much higher life total, so that losing half of your life is actually more painful than if you were to have 20 life at the start. Don't think about it. Don't consider it. Just look at the 4 cards for 3 mana. Ooh, must be very, very good. Just look at the positives, ignore the negatives, and that makes Cruel Bargain a very, very cool card in my opinion. All right, next up, this card is just legit good. It just hasn't had the time to be put into enough decks yet because it's so new. Donatello's Technique. It's a divination normally, 2 and a blue to draw 2 cards. Not very good, but not horrible. Worst case scenario. Best case scenario, it is 1 blue mana to bounce an unblocked creature to your hand to draw 2 cards. It is 1 blue mana to draw 2 cards, and in the right, you're not playing this in like any deck, don't get me wrong. In the right decks, you're playing this to bounce a Wall of Omens, or I guess as a defender, you can't attack with Wall of Omens, excuse me. You're playing this to bounce a Satyr Wayfinder. You're playing this to bounce, you know, something with an ETB effect, right? You're playing this to bounce like a... what's the Wood Elves, right? You're playing this to bounce something that ramps you, the frog that, you know, gives you a land off the top of your library. You're playing this to get extra benefits. You're drawing 2 cards for 1 mana while also getting extra ETBs, extra value. You know, it's kind of like almost like a blink. It's like a semi-blink, but you do have to pay the CMC to cast the creature again, so it's not, you know, not quite a blink, but you're drawing 2 cards while also potentially getting a slower blink. I think this card's awesome. I think it's powerful. I think it just hasn't had enough time to be put into decks. Next up, Dream Salvage. Very narrow card, let me say that, but it's 1 mana, 1 blue or 1 black, instant. Draw cards equal to the number of cards target opponent discarded this turn. You don't see a whole lot of discard strategies in Commander. It is mostly just what is it, Turgid? Is that the one that everybody hates, that I hate, that everybody hates playing against? There's not a whole lot of discard strategies in Commander, but for the ones that want to do this, this card is amazing. 1 mana to potentially draw 3 cards, potentially, you know, you have to combo with other things. Don't get me wrong, it's not quite that, but very niche card, very narrow, but I had never heard of it prior to researching for this video, so I'm sure a lot of you guys haven't heard of it either. Wanted to let you be aware of it. Dream Salvage. Next up, Fall of Gil-galad. 1 and 1 green. Sorry if I said that wrong. 1 and 1 green. Scry. So this is a saga. So it's got multiple effects. The fact this is 2 mana, this card being a Lord of the Rings card that is 39 cents, that has a 0.36 inclusion, this card is crazy value. Am I wrong? Why have I never heard of this? At first, you just scry 2. Okay, very simple. You just scry 2. Not a big deal. Second, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on creatures you control. Okay, that's typical. That's 2 mana value right there. Like, that's already like scry 2 and get counters for 2 mana. That's ahead of the curve. Okay, and then the third effect, until end of turn, target creature you control gains. When this creature dies, draw 2 cards, and then that creature fights. I'm sorry, what? This card is okay, scry, not a big deal. Okay, counters, kind of a big deal in certain decks that wants counters, but also just kind of relevant on its own right, into a kill spell, a fight kill spell that draws 2 cards. For 2 mana? Am I crazy? This card feels nuts. Yes, you have to wait many turns. It's, you know, it's a slow burn. It's a saga. You have to wait. You have to get to your 3rd turn, right? After playing this. But the value, if you're just playing, people love value decks in Commander. If you're just playing a value deck, dude, what? This card is insane. This card's nuts. I think this card is incredibly underrated. Okay, moving on. Bang the Fearless Lassie. Not as a commander, I want it as a card, excuse me. As a card. 2 and a black, so 3 mana total for a legendary creature that is a 2/3. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, you draw a card and lose a life. This ability triggers only once each turn. This card's 21 cents. It's at a 0.68% inclusion. You can combo this with Crucible of Worlds. Combos with any playing lands. I love playing lands for the graveyard. Crucible of Worlds, Conduit of Worlds. They've printed so many cards now that there used to just be Crucible, but now there's like 3, 4, 5 cards. There's that new like Simic, what's it called? The Simic enchantment that lets you also play lands from the grave. There are so many new cards that have been printed that let you play lands from the grave. Just doing that, life from the loam, right? This plus life from the loam. Oh, so beautiful. This plus any dredging. I think dredging is super underrated in Commander. I've been a big fan of dredging in Commander for a very, very long time. This card also has Meld, which is not a mechanic you see very often. That is a mechanic where if you play this other card, Cheerful to See, then you actually go ahead and combine them together and get some like super ultra unique effect. But you don't have to do that. This card's already just good in its own right, in my personal opinion. Next up, Fateful Handoff, 3 and a black, so 4 mana for a sorcery where you draw cards equal to the mana value of target artifact or creature you control, and then an opponent gains control of that permanent. This is a very narrow niche card, okay? Well, we're back to giving permanents away, harmless offering type things, but I think it's interesting. I think this card goes in a very small amount of decks, but the decks that it goes in, it's very cool. I had never heard of it. Hopefully some extra awareness, and that's it. That's Fateful Handoff. Next up, Flux, 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Each player chooses and discards any number of cards and then draws that many cards, and then you draw an extra card. This is a nice little, kind of like a wheel. It can be a wheel if you want it to be. It can be a flexible wheel for 3 mana. 30 cents for a wheel effect in 0.27% of decks. But it's not even just a wheel. It gives you a slight advantage by drawing you an extra card. You can also dredge if you want to, or do certain things obviously with that. I loved mentioned it. Dredge mentioned, I think this card is sick. I think it's underrated. I think it deserves more than a 0.27% play rate. Next up, one of my favorite cards on this list. Not necessarily because it's amazing, but I think it kind of is. This is do you like gambling? We're Magic players. We like opening packs. Why are more people not playing this card? Because it is ridiculously, stupidly fun. Fiery Gambit, 2 and a red for a sorcery from Mirrodin, also a 6 set. Flip a coin until you lose a flip or choose to stop flipping. If you lose a flip, Fiery Gambit has no effect. If you win 1 or more flips, Fiery Gambit deals 3 damage to target creature. If you win 2 or more flips, Fiery Gambit deals 6 damage to each opponent. If you win 3 or more flips, draw 9 cards and untap all lands you control. Okay, so I am terrible at math, but thankfully we have Google. That is you have a 12.5% chance. A 12.5% chance of flipping 3 heads in a row. And if you do that, you just win the game. Not outright, but like you're getting it pretty close. Like drawing 9 cards, untap all your lands. I'm gonna start playing this in more decks. This is so fun, dude. The only downside is that it's like $3, and then $3 for a meme card. Okay, it's worth it, but you're pushing it. Let's be honest. I think this card is super fun. I don't know if I would call it good, but damn is it fun, and damn is it good when it works. That's Fiery Gambit, boys. Let's have some. Commander is all about fun. Let's have some fun together, right? I think Commander is all about those memories. What are you gonna remember more? That game where you demonic consultationed, that game where you Thoracle comboed and won the game, or that game where you hit the 12.5% chance on Fiery Gambit and were losing the whole game and came all the way back, and now you're like back and now you won that game, right? Like that's the whole table is going to erupt. That's what Commander is all about, those beautiful memories. And a lot of these cards try to push people towards making those memories in Commander. Next up, Great Intelligence's Plan. 4 and Demir, so 4 and 1 blue, 1 black, a card from Doctor Who. Sorcery, draw 3 cards, and then target opponent faces a villainous choice. Very funny wording. They either discard 3 cards, or you may cast a spell without paying its mana cost from your hand. Commander players are greedy. Commander players are greedy and selfish little gremlins. I know because I am one, okay? 6 mana to draw 3 cards and then cast a spell for free? That's disgusting. That's insane. This is like Demir's Rishkar's Expertise, which gets played a ton. If you don't know, it's the 6-mana green card where you like draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, and then cast a 5 CMC card for free. So it's you draw a bunch of cards, you cast it, it's a 6-mana card, you're casting a 5 CMC thing afterwards, you get crazy value. This is a similar situation. I mean, you could, dude, but this isn't even. This is like arguably better than Rishkar's because you could cast an Omniscience off this. It is cast a spell from your hand for free. It's not. You can do anything. It's not CMC 5 or less. This card's crazy to me. It's less than a 1% play rate. This is very, very fun. It's fun. It's powerful. It's interesting. If someone discards 3 cards, it becomes less of all of that. I'm gonna be honest. But how often is that really gonna happen? You know, it depends on how smart your play group is, or how not even smart's not the right word, but like how geared your play group is towards winning versus fun is how this card's going to play out. But I'm going to play this in a lot more decks. This card is super, super fun. Next up, Ground Seal, man. Underrated, fun little thing, dude. It's a rare. It's 1 and a green for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. 2 mana, draw a card. Not amazing, but playable. Has an extra effect. Cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. You don't see like any graveyard hate in Commander, because there's the fear of, number one, it can be too mean and just shut people down too much and not let them play the game at all. That's not very fun. And then number 2, it's a waste of a slot if there's no graveyard decks at your table. But in the modern era, let's be honest, maximizing the usage of all of our zones in Magic, people are utilizing their graveyard in like every deck nowadays. Like 10 years ago, it used to just be like Golgari and Sultai, but now it's like, Is It and Bant, and like everything is using their graveyards now. Like graveyard is just a very, very powerful zone, right? The fact that I think the fact that it's 2 mana to draw a card, you can play this in enchantment style decks where you're playing an enchantment to draw an extra card. Now you're drawing 2 cards with some sort of enchantress effect, right? Any sort of enchantment synergies in your decks. If you need an extra card type, if you're looking for like Delirium, I think Ground Seal is a great card to add for extra to up your enchantment count in your deck and get some extra Delirium triggers. It's 2 mana to draw a card, which is solid. It cycles itself. But that extra little tacked on, the enchantment element is relevant, and the extra little tacked on graveyard hate. That is graveyard hate, but isn't like hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't going to stop people from playing the game. It's not going to like ruin a graveyard player's time, in my opinion. But I think this is fair. It's going to stop reanimations. It's going to stop life in the loam. It's going to slow things down until they remove this enchantment, which they should have some of in their deck if they're playing a graveyard, so they ought to have some interaction. I think it's a super fair, super fun, solid card. Gruesome Realization. You see a lot of these cards, these 3 mana cards that either make you draw 2 cards or make someone discard 2 cards and then have like a modal effect. I am very high up on modal effects in Commander. I think versatility is key when it comes to playing a game where so many things can happen and you have 3 other opponents, right? Gruesome Realization is 1 and 2 black for a sorcery that says you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. That's fine. It's not great. You'd rather play Sign in Blood, which is just 2 black that does the same thing, right? Or creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. You're playing this for that premium modality. How many times do you see in Commander where someone creates 400 1/1s, 40 1/1s? I see it all the time. People love to play tokens. Or how many times where someone creates a block where they leave their creature at 1 HP, and then main phase 2, you can go ahead and throw this off, right? Or just throwing this at the start of the combat to like discourage them from going for certain blocks, right? I think this is a super valid modal card. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's like busted. I think it's a super solid modal card worth considering. Next up, fun card, Heartwarming Redemption. 2, a red and a white for an instant. Discard all the cards in your hand and then draw that many cards +1. You also gain life to the number of cards in your hand. This is a cool card in Boros, man. Boros, a little bit of life gain attached from that white, element. I think it's a really cool card. I think it's a really fun card. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy to, anything that it's doing is out there. The fact that it's instant speed is really interesting. You can do some fun stuff with that. I think this card is just underplayed at 0.43%. 30-cent card, very cheap card, and uncommon. I would have expected this to be like a rare back in the day. This is a really cool card. Check out Heartwarming Redemption. Next up, one of the most controversials on today's list. Who would have thought? A dumb little artifact. I like Hedron Archive. I do. I know. I'm in the support groups trying to get past it, talking about, yes, I am a Hedron Archive addict. I think this card is still fine. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's a powerhouse. I think it's solid, dude. I love this. It depends on your deck, obviously. I play this in Maelstrom Wanderer, so like Maelstrom Wanderer loves expensive or like higher end mana rocks like this. Being able to pay just 2 mana to draw 2 cards and sack it at end is just so nice. The fact that this, if you can utilize the mana properly, it effectively costs 2 mana light. So if you can play this for 4, you gain 2 mana back. If you have like another, if you have 2 lands and extra, you play an extra 4 drop, right? Like this really snowballs. If you're playing like any sort of artifact deck, it snowballs. I think Hedron Archive gets too much hate. I think this card is solid. Does it deserve to be played in like every deck? No, of course not. But should it be played in like, I don't know, maybe like 4 to 5%? I think that's probably fair. Like any deck that wants to go big probably should be playing Hedron. You know, I think any big super green rampy, super artifact rampy where you really can utilize the mana at any point, I think this card is awesome. I think Hedron Archive is really good still. I love it. It does 2 great things at a solid rate. I like Hedron Archive. Okay, next up, a new card from TMNT that's already at 0.83% usage, which honestly implies that it's like pretty popular for a new set card, right? Here comes a new hero, X and 2 blue. Target player draws X cards, and then you create a token that is a copy of up to 1 target creature with mana value X or less. This card is actually kind of nuts. I think that this is the new Blue Suns Zenith style of effect that we needed, because how often do you see Blue Suns get played? Not a whole lot, right? I think this card is sick. I think this card is actually nasty. It's copy, you get the ETB, you can copy, you know, some big ETB creature, you could copy you know, someone, you could copy, dude, this card is, I'm so in, you can copy, it's not creature you control, it's any creature on the battlefield. So if you're a control deck, you don't need to have your own creatures, you can copy someone else's, you could copy your best creature, you could copy, you know, you could copy, let's say you Crater Hoofed the turn prior and somehow didn't win the game, next turn you play this, draw a billion cards, you drop a second Crater Hoof. Like, I think this card is sick. I think this card is disgusting. I think it's nasty. I think this card will end games. This card will win games. And then worst case scenario, okay? Let's say you're behind. Let's say you're behind on the board. Maybe you got droughted for a little bit, but you have like a Sakura Tri-Belter on the battlefield, right? Worst case scenario, you play this for like 5. You're trying to come back in the game. You play this for 5, draw 2 cards, and like copy a 2-drop. And there's, dude, there's so many powerful 2-drops. You could copy a Sakura Tri-Belter. You could copy a Fauna Shaman, right? You could copy an Esper Sentinel for less. Like, dude, that's, imagine copying an opponent's Esper Sentinel. Like, that's, I think this card is sick. I think this card is really, 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 really good. Like, unironically, I think it'll be at like, maybe not that good, but it's really, really good. Really, maybe 2 realies, not 3 realies. I think this card is a very, very good, really fun commander card. I don't think it'll ever see play in any 60 card formats. I am not that crazy, but this is a fantastically fun casual commander card. At high-end tables, this will be too slow. I wanted to, since I said so many relays, I wanted to mention this. This is really, 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 really good in casual, like bracket 2, 3 commander, in my opinion. Bracket 4 or higher is going to be too slow. All right, 25 cards down, 75 more to go. Next up is Hoarder's Greed. For 3 and 1 black for a sorcery, you lose 2 life and draw 2 cards and then clash with an opponent. If you win, repeat this process. If you can just get this to happen twice, that's really, really good. Then you're paying 4 mana and 4 life to draw 4 cards. That's a really, really good rate in Magic on average. If you can do it more than that, now you're cooking, okay? Now, clashing, for those who don't, actually says each clashing player reveals the top card of their library and then puts that card on their choice of the top or bottom. A player wins if their card had a greater mana value. So if you also, you can like choose where to put it. That's crazy. If you like flip an 8 mana CMC, you could just keep it there. You could just clash all day if you wanted to, and the odds of your opponent, you know, you play this in a deck that has high CMC. If you're playing, you know, I don't know what a Maelstrom Wanderer type, all I can think was Maelstrom today, I guess. It's in my brain. It's apologies. It's in my head. But like a Maelstrom style deck where you're playing very high CMC stuff in black. If you have a, you know, that, I think this card could go crazy in that. I think this card could be sick. I think Hoarder's Greed is really underrated for a sorcery. I think it's really cool. Check it out. It's a cool card. That's all I gotta say about it. 25 cents. There you go. Humble Defector. This card's fun. I played this card in Commander for years because it's fun. I don't think it's the most amazing card, not the most broken. It's really fun. It's political. I'm honestly shocked it has this high of a usage. That feels kind of high. Maybe it's all the precons that it's put into. I'm not like super high up on this card for value. I am high up on it for fun, as I said a billion times. It is 1 and a red for a 2/1 creature that you can just tap and draw 2 cards, and then target opponent gains control of Humble Defector. You can only activate that during your turn, right? So it's draw 2 card. You pass it around. It speeds up the game. You pass it around to the whole table. Everybody draws more cards. Everybody's happy. The only mean thing is if people like just pass it between themselves and then never pass to the person who actually played the card. That sucks. That happens sometimes. But it's a fun little political tool. Play Humble Defector if you want to, or not if you don't want to. There you go. Imposing Grandeur. 4 and a red for a sorcery. Each player may discard their hand and draw cards equal to the greatest CMC of a commander they own, either on the battlefield or in the command zone. If you play a high CMC commander, once again, I gotta mention it, Maelstrom Wanderer. If you haven't googled Maelstrom Wanderer at one point in the video, or you just have played long enough to know what he does, then you should be good. But you go ahead and I'll give you 5 seconds. Go ahead and Google it. Maelstrom Wanderer. Go ahead. This card would be fantastic in this, because the beautiful thing with that is the worst part of Maelstrom, he cascades, right? So the worst part of Maelstrom is if he cascades into something that doesn't really have a huge benefit yet. But since this counts the command zone, or, you know, that you own, I guess, actually, does that work? Hilariously, that might not. I'm really in live time. If you cast this in Maelstrom Water, I don't play this in Maelstrom, but if you cast this, fun little fact, I guess, this is any judges out there, if you cast this in Maelstrom, he's on the stack. He's not in the command zone or on the battlefield, right? So you actually wouldn't draw the cards. That's hilariously mean. Anyways, really cool card still. 400 red for a sorcery. Each player may discard their hand and draw cards equal to the greatest mana value among commanders they control on the battlefield in the command zone. I think it's a cool card for really high-end CMC creatures. That's about it. You can pay 5 mana. If you're paying 5 and drawing 5, that's really good. Paying 5, drawing 6, really, you know, even better. 7, 8, 9, yada, 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 right? Next up, in my notes, I wrote down next to this card, not good, but fun. It is just the same thing as that other card we covered earlier, but in a, it's the same as Cruel Bargain, but in a different printing, in a beautiful art. Infernal Contract, 3 black mana, draw 4 cards, you lose half your life. Not a bit, you know, you're drawing 4 cards. It's worth it, guys. Definitely not make you lose the game, but it looks really cool and has a lot of style. Okay, anyways, moving on. Inspired Idea. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Draw 3 cards. Your maximum hand size is reduced by 3 for the rest of the game. This card's spicy. 3 mana to draw 3 cards, but then reduce your hand size for the rest of the game. If you want to, it has this other option, Cleave. You may cast this spell for its cleave cost. If you do, remove the card, the words in brackets. So you can turn this into just 5 mana draw 3, but that's not fun or good, you know? I think this is a fantastic card in a spell slinger deck that doesn't actually want to, like, it's going to be casting things at such a low CMC. If your deck is very low CMC and you are just slinging, I think this card is nuts. How is, like, 817 decks, 0.02% inclusion? 0.02? There's a lot of decks where reducing your hand size by 3 will not matter for the rest of the game. I play a deck that, like, I might start playing this in T-Lord, in Lord of Tressorhorn, because usually, and I'm not like, in that deck, I am, for the first 3 turns, I'm honing my resources, I'm sculpting my hand, I am, you know, I am keeping a high card count in hand, yes, but then once I play my commander and I kill someone in 1 turn, and once I, you know, I pop off, I do my little burst or my whatever, right? After that, I'm never really refueling. I'm staying at like 4 cards in hand for the rest of the game. So this is honestly a fantastic card to refuel a bit in T-Lord. Just keep him stable, keep him on the board, keep him, you know, I think this card is honestly really interesting. I think it is a severe cost, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a cost that a lot of decks can pretty easily function with. Next up, I love this card, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, from one of my favorite Magic sets of all time, Magic Origins, a fantastic core set. This is as a card, not as a commander. Jace Vryn's Prodigy is just a fantastic looter. It's a fantastic looter with extra effects. It's only in 0.44% of decks. Jace for the Prodigy, 1 in a blue for a 0/2 creature where you can tap it and draw a card and then discard a card. If there are 5 or more cards in your graveyard, very easy to achieve in Commander, by the way, you exile Jace and then flip him, turn him back to the, you flip him. That's the TLJ, you flip him. And you bring back Jace the Telepath. Jace Telepath, he starts at 5 loyalty. You can -3 him to target an instant or sorcery, give it flashback, I believe, if I recall. Yeah, you make cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If the card would be cast, exile. So you can give a instant or sorcery flashback off a 2-mana creature that you could potentially then +1 the next turn and potentially get a second flash. But even if you're just looting with Jace and then getting 1 flashback off him for 2 mana, it's long-term value. You have to let it sit in the battlefield and, develop your graveyard, get your loots, right? But like even if you're just doing that, it's beautiful. I love this is Baby Jace, for those who don't know. I love Baby Jace. Great card, great effect, underrated. 0.44%, 0.44%. Come on, that's too low. That's too low for Baby Jace. Anyways, moving on. I am high up on Secret Rendezvous, man. Speaking of Commander players being selfish, I am high up on Secret Rendezvous. If you don't know, Secret Rendezvous is the little sorcery part here. This is a new card from Strixhaven. New card already at almost 1% play rate. Wouldn't surprise me if this card keeps going up in play rate and even maybe touches more value. We'll see about that. But Secret Rendezvous is that card that is 1 and 2 white. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. 3 mana to draw 3 cards is very freaking good. You're letting someone else draw 3 cards. Yes, that's not ideal. But how often is it in Commander where at least one person at your table is either droughting or flooding with lands, right? I love this. I think letting the weakest player at the table for that game draw 3 cards and potentially get back into the game, I think it's wholesome. I think it's cute. I think it's a political tool. I think it's fun. I love those kinds of things in Commander, and you can do it repeatedly. So the way that this card works, it's a new mechanic. It comes with being prepared. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 creature. Okay, sure. With first strike. Okay, that's relevant. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent has more cards in hand than you, this creature becomes prepared. So it does not enter prepared. The creature has to be prepared to be able to cast this little spell. And while it's on the battlefield and it's prepared, you can just cast the spell, right? At sorcery speed, of course, right? But that's really good. What becomes really cool, and also Secret Rendezvous kind of feeds into this. If you're making an opponent draw 3 cards, right, you're keeping their card count high, which is really good for preparing this creature once again. So you can just repeatedly, potentially infinitely Secret Rendezvous every turn. I think this card is sick, underrated. We'll see a lot more play as people learn about it. It's just very, very new. All right, next up, this card's cool. I love wizards, man. Keeper of the Mind, 2 blue for a 1/2 creature. For a wizard, you pay 1 blue mana and draw a card. Play this ability only if an opponent has at least 2 more cards in hand than you. This card is in 0.01%. 0.01? You could repeatedly pay 1 mana and draw a card if the stipulation is met, of course, nerd emoji. I think it's cool, man. I think it's a cool card. Probably a beautiful foil. Oh man, an Exodus old foil. There's a lot of decks that incorporate the wizard archetype. It is a wizard that must be considered. You can have some extra wizard synergies. Look at this, it's in 300 decks. Come on, it's got to be more than that. This card is cool, man. It's a special stipulation. I think this card teaches players to get into the habit of asking your opponents how many cards in hand. I know Commander players dread answering that. It's an important question. I'm sorry, that's one. Suck it up and answer the question. Asking constantly how many cards in hand is such an important part of playing Magic for so many different effects, which has more and more get printed over the years. I love that question. I think it's really important, really relevant. I love Keeper of the Mind, a really cool niche card draw option. Next up, Karuga the Companion as a card. I think more people probably should play this as a card. I should play this in, once again, say it with me, Maelstrom Wanderer. He mentioned it for the 10th time. So cool. I should play this in Maelstrom. I don't currently, and I really want to. I cannot play it as a companion, and I don't think I want to play it as a companion. I think it's really important to have some early game ramp in Maelstrom. But I could potentially see myself reworking the deck to have as a companion. I think this card is awesome. Karuga the Macro Sage. If you don't know, it's one of the infamous companions. It is, but you don't have to play as a companion. We're not doing that here, right? For this example, it's 3 and then a green or a blue, or a green or blue. You know, the dual symbols. For a 5/4 creature, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each other permanent you control with CMC 3 or greater. This is fantastic in high-end decks. This is a slow card. This is like a bracket 2 or below card. Bracket 3 is this is a slow card, but it's fun. It's a big creature. It's a 5/4. It's great in things like Maelstrom where you're cascading into this, right, and getting the free value. I think this card is cool. Probably should be played in at least 1%. Come on, give me Simic players love playing a bunch of dumb shit, 3 CMC or higher. Come on, you know, like it would go great in pretty much any Simic deck. Let's be honest. Anyways, moving on. Liliana's Contract, a cool card that I had never really heard of prior to this video. 3 and 2 black. When Liliana's Contract enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and lose 4 life. Drawing 4 cards at the cost of 4 life and 5 mana is good. The card could just say that and be a sorcery, and that's good. Nothing else matters. The fact that it's an enchantment, so you can get enchantment synergies, especially like you don't see a whole lot of. There are some Orzhov or other black-white, right? There are some enchantment, like the Daxos, right? There are some enchantment style decks, and you don't see a whole lot. I think this card's underrated. Now, the second text only matters if you're playing certain decks like Kalia, you know, like a demon deck. But the second effect is at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. That's kind of crazy. If I play this in any decks that I play, that will never be a factor, but I would play it just for this. I think 5 mana just to draw 4 cards at the cost of 4 life with enchantment synergies, if you have those in your deck, is really, really solid and definitely worth considering. Next up, Liliana's Standard Bearer. 2 and a black for a flash creature, 3/1. When Liliana's Standard Bearing enters the battlefield, you draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures that died under your control this turn. You don't even lose X life. Usually a lot of cards would tack that on. And it's not... I think this card is sick. I think this card is interesting. You could play this with Aristocrat strategies. This card would be nuts. Oh my god. I love Lifeline. One of my favorite cards of all time is Lifeline. Oh, I'm convincing myself to play this in Verol's. This card is real. That's like how you know, like I love doing these videos because I learn a lot. I do a lot of research and I convince myself to change up and add certain cards to my decks. Liliana's Standard Bearer is a really cool card, man. 3 mana to potentially draw after a board wipe. You know, you flash this if you have the mana up. You flash this in. If you know that you're a lot of times with board wipes, this could just be the players that I play with. A lot of times, well, I guess 10 years of experience. With my 10 to 15 years of experience with Magic, a lot of times if someone has a board wipe, they kind of talk about it. Am I crazy to say that? I feel like people love to flex they have a board wipe for whatever reason. I think I probably am guilty of it too. People love to mention like, oh, don't worry guys, things will reset next turn, wink wink, you know, like you hear a lot of that. So I think you can decently choreograph it, decently predict it, and play this at the right time. Or even if if you are playing this for 3 mana to draw like 1 card, that's literally like already fine. But if you are playing things like Doomed Traveler or Blister, like the Blister Paw, is that what I'm thinking of? Cards that, you know, Aristocrat style stuff, sacrifice things, creatures that replace themselves. I think this card is really interesting. Sack a bunch of creatures to your Phyrexian Altar, you know, get some mana, you know, draw a bunch of cards. I think this card is an underrated card for Aristocrat strategies. Next up, I hate to be recommending you guys to play Luke the Pathfinder. I know, ouch, it hurts my heart. Okay, I know. The cringe little goblin guy who Magic tried to make the mascot that I don't really hate him, to be fair. He didn't really do anything wrong. He's just it's not his fault, right? He's just chilling. He's a forced little creature. Yes, we all know it, but this card's kind of good. This card's kind of good, man. 2 end teamer, so 2 and a green, a blue and a red. You get a double strike vigilance haste. The haste is super important. Haste creature, right? The 2/4. And then you have the ability to exhaust him, pay a blue, and draw 3 cards. That ability alone is like worth this card in my opinion. The fact that you get a 2/4 double strike vigilance haste creature, you pay 6 mana to draw 3 cards, leaving behind a really relevant body that can in later turns ramp you for 3 and then also do 3 damage to any target. Like, this card is good, man. I hate to admit that a loot card is good, but this card is good, being less than $1 and being played in for a mythic as well. A mythic rare from a pretty recent set, less than $1 and played in 0.61% of decks. I think this card deserves better than that, for better or for worse. Next up, Lorien Revealed. I think a lot of players sleep on how good this card is. It's also like $3 to be fair. This card is very good. I'm very familiar with this card due to Legacy and Eternal formats. We understand how good this card is there. Yes, it is 5 mana to draw 3 cards, which is fine. It's not great. You're playing that as a last-ditch effort. It's great because it's a modal card. It's great because can either refuel your hand at endgame and it brings you back into the, and potentially makes you just win on the spot right there. It's that relevant when everyone's gassed and you can draw 3. It is game changing, right? Or it has island cycling, not basic land cycling, not, you know, cycling, island cycling. Discard this card for 1 generic. Search your library for any island, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. You can get an underground sea off of this. You could get, you know, the Shockland. You could get Undercity Sewers. You could get any island with, you could get a tropical, any island that is any color. You can play this in 5 color, play this in 3 color. It helps you fix your colors. It helps you make sure you're hitting your land drops. And then it helps you if you are hitting, if you're doing the thing that this card otherwise helps you do, it helps you do the other thing that you want to do. This card does both of the things that every commander player wants to do. It helps you hit land drops and ramp, or helps you draw cards. This is like the ultimate commander card, the ultimate, like, just eternal format card, in my opinion. Honestly, this card is that good. If you haven't played with it, play with it and see how it feels, and you'll probably come to understand, in my opinion. Next up, Lucid Dreams. 3 and 2 blue. This has 0.01%, under 500 decks for reference. 5 mana for a sorcery for Modern Horizons 2. Draw X cards, where X is the number of card types among card types in your cards in your graveyard. Now, let's talk about card types so I can give you an idea of what you might want to be looking for here. All right, here is the list of all the card types in Magic the Gathering. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, technically 9 card types. So you technically could pay 5 mana to draw 9 cards. I'm going to be honest with you, that is never going to happen in a million years. If you can do that, that would be a really cool achievement. That's a cool, like, fun thing to hunt for when playing Commander, but you're probably not going to do that in most games, right? Most of the time, you're not going to have a battle, you're not going to have a kindred, you know, in your graveyard. What you might have, however, is a land, fetch lands, pretty Evolve in Wilds, pretty easy. A land, a sorcery, an instant, a creature, and an artifact. Right? That's what, 5? I'm terrible at math. That's 5? Is that right? Artifact, creature, instant, sorcery, land. That's 5. So, like, those are 5 things that everyone should have in their deck, right? Probably enchantments as well, but I'm trying to be safe about this guesstimation. If you're playing a graveyard deck where you're dredging, you know, milling a bunch of cards, now you have to be milling stuff, you know. If you're just casting stuff, it becomes a bit harder, but you still probably can do those 5. You know, if you're playing Hedron Archive, sacrifice that Hedron Archive, get an artifact in the graveyard. Now we're talking. I'm just trying to copium Hedron Archive. Now we're talking value, boys. I think you can pretty consistently, if you're playing this in the right decks, pretty consistently pay 5 mana to draw 5 cards. I think this card is super solid, man. Like, why? To me, this card is so much better than Harmonize. Why are we playing Harmonize over? I know this is more, obviously the reason is Harmonize is consistent. This is contingent on other factors. I know the actual reasoning, but you don't have to, it's a, you know, what's it called, it's not a question you actually answer, right? But I think this card is solid. Potentially, if you have you're drawing 6 cards, if you have enchantments, if you have one planeswalker deck, you know, you get that in there, 7 cards. Like, there are many Sultai commander decks that I've played where I could draw 7 cards off of this pretty consistently for 5 mana. I think that is very reasonable, a very cool card, and definitely something worth considering. That is just, you know, I'm not saying it should be played in every deck, but 0.01%, come on. And speaking of cards that should be played in every deck, I love Magmatic Insight. I'm sorry, how often are you discarding a non-land card to your Tormenting Voice? I'm sorry. Also, why are we playing Tormenting Voice? Brother, it is 2026. Tormenting Voice? Similar to Harmonize, I am a Tormenting Voice hater. Almost 2% of decks for a 2-mana spell where you discard a card and draw 2 cards. You're going neutral? You're not even going up a card because you're casting Tormenting Voice. That's -1, and then discarding 1. You're going 2 for 2. You're not even going positive. It's in 2% of decks. At this point, I'd rather just play like Winds of Change or any sort of like wheel. I hate Tormenting Voice. I think this card is Omega ass, respectfully. Why is that getting played almost 2% versus Magmatic Insight? Is it because people don't play enough lands? Is that what I'm learning that? And that's probably, I should, you know, is it just Magic players don't play enough lands? Commander players hate playing lands? Like, lands should be the card that you do end up with extras of, where you're like, oh, you know what, I can toss away, you know, an Ender Game or, you know, whatever, right? Like, that's 1 mana. A 1 mana difference is huge, man. 1 red, you discard a land. It's more restrictive than Voice, right? You discard a land and draw 2 cards. I think Magmatic Voice is, if you're playing red green, I got them, you know, Life in the Loam, you got good cards, right? Like Crucible of Worlds, there's so many ways to play Lands from Grave these days, more than ever. 0.54, I can't believe this. Like this would be my go-to if you told me to pick one 25-cent, you know, common uncommon red card to budget smooth out your draws in a commander deck. I would go this way over Tormenting Voice every time. Oh my, I'm very high on Magmatic Insight. I think this card is sick, and it's way better than Tormenting Voice. All right, next up, Mask of Gristlebrand. 1 and 2 black for a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature has flying and lifelink. Whenever a creature dies, you may pay X life, where X is its power, and draw X cards. It's a pretty expensive card. It's 3 to play and then 3 to equip. But once, similar to most artifacts, once you get it down, that equip cost becomes more reasonable versus like the playing and equipping in one turn. That's a lot, right? But the fact that it gives lifelink as well, that's a big thing here. Yes, you're paying life to draw cards, which is fine in Commander. You have 40 life. But the fact that it also gives the creature lifelink, I think this card is sick. I think this card is awesome. Equipping like a Protean Hulk with this, and then swinging in, you know, gaining a bunch of life, and then sacrificing it, and then oh my god, that's the nut. I'm getting excited just thinking about it, dude. Giving Protean Hulk, flying in lifelink, attacking in, dealing, you know, what is it, 6 for Hulk? 6 damage, gaining 6 life, sacrifice it to an altar on your second main phase. You've won. The game's over. You're getting your Protean Hulk, you know, package. You're drawing a bunch of cards. I think this card is sick. I think it's really fun in Aristocrat strategies, and it's played in a decent bit of decks, 1%, but I could see it in 2 to 3%. I think it's a really cool card. I need to personally add this card to more decks. I can speak for myself on that one. Next up, Mental Note. The only downside of this card is that it's gotten expensive recently due to pre-modern spikes. This is just Thought Scour to my understanding. I think it's technically not just Thought Scour, because Thought Scour is target player versus the top cards of your library, but this is Mental Notes. It is 1 blue mana for an instant. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. It self-mills and it draws a card. So it's Thought Scour, but you can only target yourself, and it's I love the art. Beautiful art, beautiful old printing. Only in 0.22% of decks, which I think is really underrated. But honestly, $10 for this kind, this is like a common, this is like a 25-cent card, you know, 25-cent style of effect. $10 for this just because of pre-modern spikes. That is the most reasonable. But this card was so cheap for so long, it only just recently spiked, so you can't use that as a full excuse, you know. It was like $1 or less for a very, very long time. But if you don't want to put it in your decks nowadays, $10 is a lot for that kind of effect, I'll be honest, right? Next up, similar to Loot, I think I do play this card in Maelstrom Wanderer. The big dumb cards that are in Teamer are just great in Maelstrom. Mercurial Chemister. This card also fell off a lot. This card used to be really good 10 years ago, and I think it's still good at low power. I would probably not play this in bracket 3 unless you're playing it in Maelstrom or like certain decks that can really abuse it. But in bracket 1 and 2, this card's fantastic. 3 and so 3, a blue and a red for a 2/3 creature where you can pay 1 blue and draw 2 cards. That's 1 mana for, you're paying 5 to get the creature down. That's the hard part, right? But like 1 mana, once you've invested 1 mana to draw 2 cards every single turn. If you have something that untaps your creatures or like, so like that, this becomes, that's insane. That is obviously a ridiculously powerful effect, and 0.22% is just way too low. That is, come on. I know this card's fallen off a bit. It's a lot of mana. I get it. It dies to removal, you know, of course, right? I get it. But 0.22, come on. Like that's, and the fact that it has, the second effect is always under respected. This is removal. This card has card draw and removal. I'm often using this in Maelstrom to like remove something off the battlefield to allow me to do lethal damage. Like that happens a fair bit. You pay a red and tap it to discard a card, and it deals damage to target creature equal to the discarded card's CMC. If you're playing big dumb stuff, big dumb spells, you know, this card is sick, man. This card is, I think the card, also if you're playing this in like 1000-Year Storm, let's be honest, you're ritualing up to like 5 mana anyway. If you could get this thing out early, do this thing on like turn 3 or turn 4, oh my god, you're so ahead at that point. Like this card is really powerful. It's high risk, high reward. It's a 5 mana creature that you're using for the effects every single turn. But man, if it can stick around, you are just getting ridiculous, disgusting. It is the peak like high risk, high reward value, you know. So check out Chemister. I think 0.22% is criminal. Next up, Mind into Matter. This card is, it's also, it just keeps going up. It's probably higher and higher and higher by the time you're watching this video. New card from the new Strixhaven set. Already in 2.4. This card's really good because it's new and it's already in almost 2.5% of decks. It is X, a green and a blue for a sorcery. Draw X cards, and then you may put permanent with CMC X or less onto the battlefield. Woo! They are pushing this and that other one from TMNT, the Mutant Ninja Turtle set. They are trying to bring back Blue Sun Zenith style effects, and I think they're doing it. This is, oh my god, the fact that you draw the cards before putting the permanent down as well. This card is nuts. Am I crazy? Like, you can get like 8 mana is probably like where a commander game is like ending. It depends on the bracket, of course, but like if you can play this for 8 mana, draw 6 cards. Also, you're in Simic. This is Simic, bro. Like this does everything that Simic wants to do. Draw cards, play big dumb stuff. This card is good. It's fun. It's Timmy. It's gonna be like, it's casual friendly. It's like high level players will want to play because it's fun. Like this card's fantastic, man. The card is great. Mind to Matter. Get your copies before they get expensive. I don't know if they will anytime soon, but this card is, there's just so much supply with these new sets, but there's gonna be a lot of demand for sure. That card is really good. And then onto a much more boring card. To be fair, if you're playing Simic or these, why would you play this over the other ones nowadays, to be honest? But I still think this card should be mentioned. Also, once again, printed, like, look how many there are. Is anybody talking? They're putting a lot of Brain Geyser, Blue Sun Zenith style of things recently. No one's talking about that. I don't know if it really matters, but it's interesting. This is just Brain Geyser, but 30 cents. First Brain Geyser is like, what, 15 bucks? So I think it's solid, worth mentioning. Mind Spring, there you go. Next up, Mind's Aglow. Only in 0.89% of decks, less than 1%. 1 blue mana for a sorcery. Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of mana, and each player draws X cards where X is the total amount of mana paid. This card is so fun. This card is so fun. Even if like everybody's just like drawing 2 cards, you know, like that's like, I think this card's really interesting. People can pay in if they want to, they cannot. I think this card's political. It's fun. This card represents what Commander is all about. Play more Minds Aglow. It's what the format's about, in my opinion. Hell yeah, brother. Next up, Minions Murmurs. 2 and 2 black for a sorcery. You draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of creatures you control. Why have I never heard of this? 4 mana to draw X cards and lose X life. The creatures you could. This card is sick, man. I feel like token strategies and spreading wide is just so good in Commander already because you have 3 opponents, right? Because you have so many opponents, spreading wide and then giving everybody like +3/+3 kills most of the board, as opposed to playing a few big dumb threats on average, right? Being able to lean into that and abuse that even further and have this kind of card draw. This is in 0.10% of decks. It costs 30 cents. Are you kidding me? This card is sick. Any card that says you draw X cards where X is the number of creatures you control, this card is sick. I think it's underrated. Check it out. Modify Memory. 4 and a blue for a sorcery. Exchange control of 2 target creatures controlled by different players. If you control neither creature, you draw 3 cards. It's worded very strangely. This is basically you disrupt 2 of your opponents, and then you also draw 3 cards for 5 mana. This is way better than, like, you know, just playing Lorien Revealed without the island, of course, the island cycling. But this card is sick, man. You could 2 people love to build decks that rely on their commanders. I do this all the time. I mostly do that, honestly. Exchanging 2 people's commanders, and now their decks can't function properly without their commander, and then you just then you draw 3 cards. In any other non-commander format, this card would suck because it's one-on-one, right? This card is made for Commander. It was printed at Commander set. This card's very good. 0.37% inclusion. Come on. It's fun. It's simultaneously fun and annoying. It's fun for you. It's fun and annoying and good, disruptive, and you draw 3. Like it slows down your opponents while enabling yourself. I think often Commander players just want to enable themselves, ramp, you know, blah, blah, blah. But you've got to have some disruption. You've got to play interaction. And this card, in a weird way, is interaction, right? It's sorcery to be an interaction, but it's interaction. And I think it's really interesting. So check out Modify Memory. Next up, Molten Psych. I love Scars of Mirrodin. Cool old card. 1 and 2 red for a sorcery from Scars of Mirrodin. Each player shuffles the cards from his or her hand into the library, so it's a wheel and draws as many cards. Or Metalcraft. If you control 3 or more artifacts, Molten Psych deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards that player drew this turn. This card's awesome, man. It's a super solid take on a wheel. Beautiful art. God, this art is gorgeous. Super cool take on a wheel that also has an extra benefit if you're playing an artifact style of decks. This is an artifact mostly centric wheel. Really cool card still. This is a fantastic budget option. Nantuko Cultivator, an uncommon, 3 and a green for an insect druid that's 2/2, so 4 mana for a 2/2 creature. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard any number of land cards and then put that many plus counters on Nantuko and draw that many cards. The counters, okay, I don't really care too much about that. Drawing the cards, that's sick. Like, play this, discard all your extra, play this, discard 2-3 lands, 4 mana. If you discard 2 lands off this, you're getting a 4/4 creature and drawing 2 cards for 4 green or for 4 mana. That's really good, right? If you're playing Life from the Loam, once again, we got to bring it up. But it matters because Wizards is printing more cards that allow you to play lands from the graveyard than ever. It was just Crucible of Worlds for so long, and now you have so many options. On top of Life from the Loam, there are just more and more ways to interact with lands in your graveyard. This card will continue to get stronger and stronger as those cards keep getting printed. And it's 22 cents. And it's only included in 0.17% of decks. Come on. This is a cool card, man. Also, I'm sorry. How is this card only played in 0.5%? 47 of Gitrog decks. I'm sorry. What? Can we read? We all know Gitrog, right? Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. Are you kidding me? This is a fantastic, fun little budget Gitrog card. You discard 2 lands, draw 4 cards, right? You discard 2 lands, draw 4 cards, get a 4/4, and then potentially can play those lands back from the. You should be playing Crucible and all of those play lands from graveyard cards. You should be playing in Gitrog. This card is sick, man. This card, like, I swear, I'm actually gonna crash out. If Harmonize is played in Gitrog more than 0.17%, my brain's gonna explode. Okay, I searched for Gitrog decks with Harmonize, and thankfully Gitrog players are all very smart and handsome. This is all true. I love Gitrog players. If you play Gitrog, you get a +1 in my book. Only 200 Gitrog decks play Harmonize on EDH Rec. The day is saved, boys. All Gitrog players are very smart and handsome. Thank you for saving my mental sanity. All right, we are halfway done. We have 50 more cards to go. Next up is Neheb Dreadhorde Champion. 2 and 2 red for a zombie Minotaur Warrior, because why not? He's a 5/4 creature with trample. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards. If you do, draw that many, and you add that much red mana. That's the real kicker. And then until end of turn, you don't lose that mana as you change phases, which is really important because otherwise you would gain that mana during combat and then lose it, main phase 2. So that's a really cool stipulation. This is a great card, man. I think it's a solid, like, 4 mana, 5/4 creature with this effect is really solid. Helps you cycle out cards you don't want, draw cards you potentially do, and ramp. The ramp extra benefit is just, like, really, really nice. Only played in 0.86% of decks. And it's a cheap card, 61 cents. Neheb's awesome, dude. Next up. Okay. I like this card. This card is a fun card. It is a meme card. I also think it is weirdly good. Like, this card shouldn't be that good in my opinion. This is New Way Forward. 2, a blue, a red, and a white. I also do want to what's it called? I want to qualify. I do own a lot of copies of this card. It is only 25 cents. It is a very, very cheap card. I did buy a bunch of copies of this card because I do think it's very, very cool, and I think it could go up in value. It's a little bit of speculation. I want to tell you guys that so you don't think I'm just promoting this card to spike that card. I do like MTG investment stuff or MTG buying stuff too. Less so investments and more of just like collecting on a budget. If you like that, that is also here on this channel. We talk about a lot of, but the thing with buying cards and then talking about them, there's this lose-lose situation on the internet where if I buy a bunch of cards and then talk about them, people think I'm only doing it maliciously to pump the price, right? But then if I buy a bunch of cards, but then if I buy a bunch of cards if I don't buy a bunch of that card and I talk about it, well, now I'm like not putting my money where my mouth is at. Does that make sense? So you enter this lose-lose situation as opposed to anyone ever assuming that I'm just an earnest Magic player who likes the game, that likes to own a bunch of cards, that might, you know, honestly is trying to speculate on this a little bit, but not trying to, like, you know, just pump it. So that's, I just bought the card because I think it's a cool card. That's my little spiel on that. Anyways, new way forward. 2 End Jeskai for an instant that says the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage, and when it's prevented, you draw that many cards and deal that damage to the controller, which is kind of cool. But really, the card draw, this is, you know, if you are low on life, it's a kind of like a reversal kind of thing, where if you're low on life, your opponent attacks you for a bunch of mana or for a bunch of damage with like a Crater Hoof, like a huge Crater Hoof. You prevent the damage, you draw like 8 cards. Like, this card is sick. The only problem here, it's not really a fog. It only stops one source, but it could be one big source, right? If you can draw 5, 8, if you could pay 5 mana to prevent 5 damage to you and to draw 5 cards, you'd probably do that, right? Like, that alone is pretty, and do 5 to your opponent. Imagine this card, change the words on this card to 5 mana, draw 5 cards, prevent 5 damage to you, and do 5 damage to your opponent. I think most people would play that. That's a really good card, right? So if you think about it in different perspectives, I think this card is really interesting, is really underrated, but it's still, honestly, it's getting more play than I expected. It's at 1.12%. Commander players love fun cards. A New Way Forward is a fun card. Next up, moving on. Of One Mind, 2 and a blue for a sorcery. This spell costs 2 less if you control a human creature and a non-human. Draw 2 cards. This is a 1 mana, draw 2 cards if you control both those, you know, stipulations. In any commander deck where your commander is a human, you probably should be playing this. Like, that's, the human's the hard part. Non-human is easy, right? Like, that's most creatures in the game, right? The human is the hard part. If you have the human on lock with your commander, you're turning this into 1 mana, draw 2. That's really, really, really good. Not a whole lot to say other than that, but just a really good card for decks where your commander is a human. Next up, Omen. I even wrote in my notes for this. Okay, let me scroll up. Honestly, this suggestion is just for the art. It is literally just ponder without the shuffle and for 1 more mana. Omen is 1 and 1 blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck and return them in any order. You may choose to shuffle your deck and then draw a card. Okay, also my note is wrong. Excuse me. It literally is just ponder for 1 more mana. That's all this is. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. You may choose to shuffle and then you draw. This is literally just ponder, but for 2 mana. So it is worse ponder, but also, I mean, if you can look me in the eyes and honestly say that that isn't one of the most badass piece of arts in Magic, then you're lying to yourself, and that's okay. We all have different opinions, even if some are wrong. This card is gorgeous, as all portal cards are. But next up, moving on, Overwhelming Intellect. I like this card. This is definitely a bracket 2, you know, bracket 1, maybe bracket 3 if you're super brave, you know. But it's a fun commander card, man. It's a counter spell for 6, okay? Hear me out. 4 and 2, it's got a cool brain on it, bro. 4 and 2 blue for an instant. Counter target creature spell. I really wish it was just any spell. It probably should just be any spell. Counter target creature spell. Draw cards equal to that spell's CMC. Your creatures are probably the most #1 played spell in Commander, right? You're playing this for 6 mana, probably to counter a 6-drop on turn 6, right? You're countering a big threat, a huge creature, while also drawing a bunch of cards. I think this card is underrated, man. I think it's solid. I think it's expensive mana wise. I think it is a lot to leave up, but I think it could be played in certain like slower control style decks. I think it's definitely a cool card that has high power level at its ceiling. Next up, Pact of the Serpent. 1 and 2 black. Choose a creature type. Target player draws X cards and loses X life, where X is the number of creatures that they control that chosen type. This card is sick. I've never heard of this. It's in 1.5% of decks. Any black tribal deck, you want to run this. Like elves, this would be disgusting in like Golgari elves. This card is awesome, man. This card is just absolutely fantastic for tribal decks that have black mana. That's really that flat and simple. This card is good if you are a tribal deck with black mana. That's simple, easy peasy. Next up, the one card that is not tournament legal on this list. It is an Acorn card from one of the unsets. It is Phone a Friend. It is 3 and 2 blue, but it's a lot of fun. Okay, hear me out. That's what Commander is all about. 3 and 2 blue for a sorcery. Call someone and ask them to choose one. If they don't answer, an opponent chooses one. Don't explain anything else. You just choose targets. So you call someone randomly on your phone and they choose A, B, C, or D. A is you gain control of target creature you don't control. B is choose target creature you control and create 2 token copies of it. C is take an extra turn, and then D is draw 7 cards. This card's just fun. This card's just fun, man. Commander needs more cards like this. Make sure if you are playing this at, you know, a pot of players that you don't know super well personally, just ask, hey, I do have this uncard. Are you okay if I play this? You know, is that okay? How many moments are you gonna get from this kind of card where you call, you know, have an amazing table flip moment, the table goes, everybody's so happy. Like, this is what Commander is all about, is about phoning a friend. Okay, definitely consider putting this in more fun decks. Next up, Plea for Power. Kind of a card that's fallen off a bit in Commander. 3 and a blue for a sorcery from Conspiracy, one of the first like Commander centric. Conspiracy wasn't Commander centric, but it still was, if you know what I'm saying. Starting with you, each player votes for time or knowledge. If time gets more votes, take an extra turn. If knowledge gets more votes, draw 3 cards. Almost always you're gonna draw 3 cards, but like 4 mana to draw 3 cards is good. That's a good rate. Like, that's almost always you're just gonna draw 3 cards, but that's perfect. That's perfectly fine, perfectly fantastic. 4 mana to draw 3 cards is absolutely solid. And then if you're, for some reason, your pod has, you know, I don't know, maybe they have, like, just came from like a car accident, they have like brain damage, they'll make you take an extra turn. Cool. All right, next up, Pour Over the Pages. 3 and 2 blue for a sorcery. Draw 3 cards, untap up to 2 lands, and discard a card. So it's not actually 5 mana. You're untapping 2 lands. If you have, like, you know, your Lotus Fields or any like the bounce lands, dude, for me, every day that passes in Commander with new things getting printed, the untaps, land bounces, etc., I really do think that bounce lands are getting higher and higher on the totem pole for me. I love bounce lands like Rakdos Carnarium, the lands that come down tapped, they bounce a land back to your hand, and then they tap for 2 for the rest of the game. Those cards, because they just allow you, those cards essentially act as 2 lands in 1. And the biggest thing is card advantage. Bounce lands, I honestly, I'm gonna save it, this ramble. I'm gonna do a whole video in the future talk about how much I love bounce lands and how they've gotten better and better over the years. Anyways, for now, Pour Over the Pages. You could draw 3 cards. You have to discard 1. You untap 2 lands. You could be untapping, worst case scenario, 2 mana. Maybe you've high tided, you're untapping, you know, 4. Maybe you have bounce lands, you're untapping 4. You know, your best case scenario, passing this for effectively 1 mana to draw 3 cards and discard a card. This is a great Spellslinger card. Why is this in 0.15? I think it's because it was printed in like like a niche set that people they don't know about this card. Like, this card is good, man. I played this in standard at the time with a Brain in the Jar deck. I love this set. Shadows over Innistrad. Really cool card, underrated card. Check out Pour Over the Pages. It's a really, really cool card, man. Next up, Prime Speaker Zagana. This card is like almost always the best card in each deck that it's in, or like top 5, top 10. Like, when I play Maelstrom Wanderer, I'm hoping to hit this if I have another in the battlefield, to be fair, or like if I'm like, every time I play Maelstrom, I'm hoping to see this card. Every time I'm playing any Simic deck, I'm hoping to play I'm hoping to find Zagana, right? Prime Speaker Zagana is 6 mana, 2 green and 2 blue for a Merfolk Wizard. It's a 1/1, but it's not really a 1/1. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control, and then when it enters, you draw cards equal to its power. Almost always, I am playing this, it comes down with 6 counters, and I draw 6 cards. Paying 6 mana to get a 7/7 creature and draw 7 cards or whatever, like, is just so good. This card is consistently one of the best cards in my deck every single time I play it. I'm honestly shocked it's only in less than 3% of decks. It is everything Simic wants to do. It's a very cheap card, very budget, fantastic card. I love Prime Speaker Zagana. Next up, Queen Kayla bin Krug. Not a card I'd heard of before researching for this video. It is only in 0.24% of decks. It is 1 and Boros, so 1 and 1 red and 1 white. It's a 2/3 creature where you can pay 4 mana, kind of a fair bit, 4 mana and tap it, discard all the cards in your hand, and then draw that many cards. You may choose an artifact or creature card with CMC 1 that you discarded this way, and then do the same for CMC 2 and 3, and return those cards to the battlefield. I almost want to build this as I might. This card is fucking cool, dude. I've never heard of this. I've never seen this. This is a very underrated commander. It's beyond rank 1,000, around 2,000 decks. This card is awesome. If you are playing a very low to the ground, white weenie, Boros weenie style of deck, this is disgusting. And the fact that it's artifact or creature, this is absolutely insane. Paying 4 mana to discard 3 cards and then have all of them come back to the battle, not to your hands, back to the battlefield, while you're also drawing you're playing cards for free while also cycling and drawing new cards. This is ridiculous. It's very specific. You kind of have to build your deck around it. Like, I think this might work better as a commander than as a card, honestly, in the deck, but it depends on the deck. This card is, am I crazy, or is this card like really, 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 really good? Imagine discarding, you know, Esper Sentinel, right? Like getting that back. This card is really, really, really good, man. Really, really, really underrated. One of the most powerful cards on this deck. Oh my God, it's been a long video. We're not cutting it, boys. Fuck it. One of the most powerful cards on this list. Also, I meant to say list. Holy shit, this is a stuff video. This is what recording for this long does to you. One of the most powerful cards on this list that is just so incredibly underrated, in my opinion. All right, we keep it scrappy. Next up, Rapturous Moment. 4 and is it? So 4 blue and a red. Draw 3 cards and then discard 2 cards. Add 2 blue and 3 red. You're ritualing for 5 mana after cycling through a bunch of stuff, drawing 3 cards, discarding 2. This card is already in 2% of decks. Wow, that's shocking. It's brand new. It's already in that many decks. If you are able to like ritual up to this card is fantastic. This card, there's not a whole lot to say about this. This card is good. It still needs more time to be played as much as it needs to be, but this card is just fantastic. Plus it's got cute little two little guys on it being cute. Why not? Hell yeah. Rapturous Moment, we take those, boys. Next up, Reforge the Soul, a miracle card. Love those. A lot of fun in Commander. 3 and 2 red for a sorcery. Each player discards their hand and then draws 7 cards, or you can miracle it for 1 and a red. So that's what you want to do. Miracle cards are so fun. The biggest thing I will say, when you're playing miracle cards in Commander, you do have to get into the pattern and habit of putting your hand of cards in your left hand and then really separating space, drawing the card off the top of your library with your right hand, and then like putting it on the table and looking up at it and then seeing if it's, you have to check every turn if it's a miracle card. That is like the biggest thing. The worst thing is drawing the miracle card to hand and then not being able to prove that you drew it that turn. And like, that's, you have to draw slower and more carefully if you play any miracle cards in your deck. So make sure to do that. The worst feeling is drawing a miracle card and then drawing it straight to your hand and not casting it on accident. That sucks. So make sure to take it slow and steady when you have miracle cards when it comes to drawing. But this Reforge the Soul is so fun. It's a classic miracle card. Not a whole lot to say beyond that. Just a really cool card. Next up, a card that's fallen off a bit. This card was really beloved 10 years ago in Commander, and it's fallen off a fair bit, to be honest, but it's still a really fun, really interesting card. It's got beautiful art. This card must go crazy in foil. Recurring Insight, 4 and 2 blue for a sorcery. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in target opponent's hand, and it has rebound. So it will come back at your next upkeep, and it will cast again for free. So you get 2 of this effect for free. This is probably going to be like, let's say your opponent has like 4, it's probably gonna be like 6 mana to draw like 8 cards over 2 turns. Like that's 4 cards in hand. That's pretty reasonable, right? That's pretty like average, let's say. Best case scenario, you're drawing like 14 to 20 cards off this, right? If your opponent has like 7 or more cards in hand, that's, you know, that's best case. But realistically, you're probably drawing like 8 cards off this, maybe 10. That'd be fantastic. You know, I think it's still a relevant card worth considering in certain big blue decks. Slow controlling decks, value decks, right? Next up, Requiem Monolith, 2 and a black for an artifact from Edges of Eternity. Tap it until end of turn. Target creature gains. Whenever this creature is dealt damage, you draw that many cards and lose that much life. That creature's controller may also have this artifact deal 1 damage to them. Activate only as a sorcery. I'm sure there's, I don't know why you'd want the 1 damage thing. Maybe there's some like, because you can just choose not to. Anyways, the biggest thing, the relevant text here is whenever a creature takes damage, you tap this, you draw cards and lose it. Like this card is repeatable. It's not on 1 creature. It's on a 1-shot effect. It is repeatable over and over again on a tapping artifact. This card is sick. Even if you, let's say you play this for 3 mana, right? You chump block with a Sakura Tri-Belter. I guess you could, you don't want to sacrifice. Let's say you chump block with a Satyr Wayfinder. You chump block with your Satyr Wayfinder against like a 6 power, or let's say 3 power creature. Fuck it, 3 power creature. If you draw 3 cards off of this, you got its value. This card is actually nuts. If you draw 3, if one of your creatures takes 3 damage, you've done your job with this card. But over the course of a game, if you have things taking 6 damage, if someone Blasphemous Acts, it's not just combat damage, it's whenever a creature is dealt damage. If you play a black-red deck, a Rakdos deck, and you play Blasphemous Act, you can play this Blasphemous Act, draw 13 cards after wiping the battlefield. Whew, like that's, I feel like almost every single, this, I'm talking myself into this card. The card is really good, man. Any Rakdos deck playing Blasphemous Act should play this card. I'm that high on it. This card is really good, man. This card is really, really good. Check it out, Requiem Monolith. I'll be adding that to more decks. Next up, Rise of the Eldrazi. 9 and then 3 colorless. So what is that? 12 total mana. For a sorcery, it cannot be countered. That's very important. Destroy target permanent. Target player draws 4 cards and take an extra turn after this one and you exile it. This is, I think, a solid. It's not amazing. I'm surprised it's to be for 18 bucks for this. This card is cool. It's a great top end game ender. If you're gonna take an extra turn in Commander, you might as well do it for 12 mana. I think that's more than fair, in my opinion. More than reasonable. I think this is a game ender. It's a card that gets you back. It either gets you back into the game or it helps you try to end the game. I think it's a really fun, cool top end card for 12 mana. $18 is kind of crazy. That's honestly the biggest downside here. That's a lot of money for this kind of card. I think this is more of like a casual, like bulk rare, to be honest. It's not that, you know, it's 12 mana. That's omniscience. That's omniscience, man. What are we doing, boys? 18 for this, really? Shocked by that, but it's still, if it drops in value, pick a few up, you know. Next up, Robe of the Arch Magi. 2 and a blue for an artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw that many cards. That's just, those style effects, those Hunter's Insights on a Styx are just so powerful. And the fact that it is a 0.65% inclusion rate, and the fact that you can equip it to a Shaman, Warlock, or Wizard, that Wizard tech coming up for 1 is really relevant. If you play a commander that is a Shaman, Warlock, or Wizard, you should consider this. This has got to be, you know, in blue. This has got to be thought about because this card is really, really solid, right? Next up, Royal Cartographer. 1 and a blue for a Merfolk Road, relevant creature types. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you get 1 energy. Okay, fine. You don't even need to be playing an energy deck to do this, which I think is really cool. You can pay 6 energy to draw 3 cards. I think this card is a bit weaker. If you're playing an energy deck, this card is insane. If you are playing an energy deck, this card is a must include if you're in blue energy, right? Drawing 3 for 6 energy, no mana, no, you know, no sacrificing, no other resources. That is ridiculous, right? That's so freaking good. But if you're playing a non-energy deck, I can still see you play. Like, the landfall is just very good. That's just very powerful. I can still see you doing this and still playing this in, you know, tons of landfall strategies and like Sultai or, you know, Civic Landfall. Playing multiple lands per turn and like fetch lands, evolving wilds, maximizing that. I can still see that being really, really solid, but it really breaks its power in energy decks for sure. But in non-energy decks, I think it's a totally valid budget card draw inclusion that gets better the longer the game goes in like a budget non-energy deck. Next up, Rowdy Research. 6 and a blue. Don't worry, it can be reduced. 6 and a blue for an instant. This spell costs 1 less for each creature that attacked this turn. Notice that it is not a creature attacking you. It's not creatures that you control that are attacking. It is, this spell costs 1 less for each creature that attacked this turn. You could have player A attack player B with a bunch of tokens. You're not even involved, and now you're playing Ancestral Recall, right? Instant speed, 1 blue mana, draw 3 cards if 6 creatures attack. This card is good, man. 27% inclusion. I can't believe this. I think this card is solid. It's obviously very dependent on its stipulation, but like, I think this card is fantastic. I think 6 creatures is not a lot in Commander. It is. It's not. It's a medium amount. It's not like a lot, but it's not a little, right? It's a medium amount. Okay, I think it's fair. I think this card is really underrated, really solid. Rowdy Research, check it out. Really cheap, you know, common uncommon type beat. Next up, Season of Gathering. 4 and 2 green for a sorcery. Choose up to 5 paws worth of modes. If you don't know this from Blue, this is like the fun mythic from Bloomburrow. There was one of these for each color, I believe. For 1 paw, you can put a counter on a creature and it gains vigilance and trample. For 2 paws, you can choose artifact or enchantment and destroy all of that type, which is pretty cool. Like, not just one, but like all artifacts or all enchantments. For 3 paws, or you could pay 4 paws and do both, which is kind of neat. For 3 pause, you can draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. I love this effect in green. I think drawing cards equal to your greatest power of creature is like often very good. I always think, oh man, like what if I don't have a creature, or what if blah blah blah. Bro, you're in green. You're fine. Like I've had that worry so much. It never happens. If you don't have a creature on the battlefield and you have 6 mana up, you probably lose anyway. You're probably dead anyway. Like you're probably so far behind you're cooked, you know? Be careful. You don't want too many of these effects, I guess, in your deck without enough creatures, but like you should have enough creatures. This should be fine. This card's very, very powerful. I think it's really cool. You could destroy all artifacts and then draw like 8 cards pretty easily. You could destroy all enchantments with it. You could put a counter on a creature. You could put 2 counters on a creature to then draw 2 more cards because you're raising the power of the creature. I think Season of the Gathering is super solid. I think players agree it's at 2% inclusion, but it could be a little bit higher in my opinion. Next up, I really like Secret Rendezvous. I think it's fun. I think it's political. I think it makes commander games interesting. It's similar to that card we covered earlier, but this is just base Secret Rendezvous, not the creature with like the Secret Rendezvous attached. This is 1 and 2 white for a sorcery. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. I really like this card. I think it works in commander. In one-on-one, it would be absolutely awful and garbage and unplayable. But in commander, I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's interesting. I think it plays into the spirit of commander, in my opinion. There you go. See Beyond. This card I think is interesting because it has a shuffle attached to it. You don't see a whole lot on cards like this. The shuffle is honestly what made me really interested in this. If you have a deck that for some reason there are certain niche strategies that have benefits from shuffling, consider this. See Beyond is 1 and 1 blue for a sorcery. Draw 2 cards and then shuffle a card from your hand into your library. Sometimes you get like your Undercity Sewers, like your Surveil lands, you get certain lands or certain things in your hand that you don't want there. You want to be able to fetch your Surveil land, right? You want to be able to, you know, certain cards you don't want in your hand. So if you ever have that happening, I think this card is not the best, but it's interesting, unique, and worth considering for certain strategies and certain narrow playstyles. Next up, Secrets of the Golden City. 1 and 2 blue for a sorcery that has Ascend, where if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. It says draw 2 cards. If you have the blessing, you draw 3 cards. 3 mana draw 2 is not amazing, right? 3 mana draw 3 is really good if you have 10 or more permanents. If you're playing other cards that matter with the city's blessing, cool, but you're probably not, and that doesn't really matter. If you're just playing this like early game, 3 mana to draw 2 to like get some lands you need, okay, relevant, cool, works, right? It's not great, but it works. Playing this at middle to end game, it's pretty easy to get. You probably should be getting 10 permanents on the battlefield in a commander game. That's pretty like average commander gameplay, right? I think it's shockingly easy to do that in my opinion. 3 mana to draw 3 consistently, no other downside. If you have that, you know, I guess the downside is the restriction, right? I think it's really solid. I think this card 0.12%, 0.12%, come on. This card's solid. It's interesting. Check it out. Next up, this might be playing too much draft getting to my brain, okay? But this card, I think it's interesting. I think it really pops off if you have artifact synergies. This card is 1 blue for an artifact with flash. That's very important. When this artifact enters or leaves the battlefield, you may tap or untap target creature. And you can also sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. So it has a little bit of card draw. This card is just so versatile. You can do so many different combat tricks with this. Let's say one of your opponents is going to attack you with their commander for lethal commander damage. You know this, right? You can play this before their attacks are declared, tap the creature, you know, time walk, save yourself for a turn, right? Let's say your opponent is attacking into you because you attacked into them. All your creatures are down. You can play this, untap a creature, now have a blocker, you know, swing the game back into your favor, right? And then even if that's like also like that's solid and it's not amazing, but that's like solid in its own right. Being able to then sacrifice it afterwards for 4 mana, not ideal, but having some synergies afterwards, some value afterwards, second for 4 mana. And players seem to agree. Like 0.62% is more than I expected for like a rare common that's just good in a niche common that's good in like TMNT draft, really good in TMNT draft. Might be an uncommon to be fair. This card is really, really good limited, and I think it has potential in commander for like little blue combat. You don't see a whole lot of blue combat tricks, but like 1 mana for this. If you have artifact synergies where you're, you know, gaining extra affinities because of this, or you are, you know, getting extra counters on creatures, like this can just pop off. I think this card is fantastic and should be considered in certain artifact synergy decks that also want this kind of style effect. Next up, Very narrow, very limited card, but it's very cool and very cool when it works. Shared Discovery, 1 blue for a sorcery. As an additional cost to it, tap 4 untapped creatures you control. But if you can do that, you draw 3 cards. This is Ancestral Recall if, which we love to say, Ancestral Recall if you control 4 untapped. That is a lot. 4 untapped creatures is a lot of creatures. I'm gonna be so honest with you. But in a Merfolk deck, you know, or like a tokens deck, I think it's pretty interesting. I think it's a cool card. I wanted to mention it today. It's in 0.05% of decks. Like, gotta be a little bit more than that, right? All right, we are in the final 25 cards, the final quarter, fellas. Let's jump into it. Shoreline Looter. Okay, this card looks like nothing on the surface, but I think it's actually really underrated underneath. It is 1 and a blue for a 1/1 rat rogue that can't be blocked. It's unblockable. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card and then discard a card unless you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Very easy to achieve in Commander, in my opinion. Then it's just an unblockable 1/1 creature that is drawing a card every single turn. This card reminds me a lot of Phyrexian Arena, except it doesn't ping you. Number 1, you're actually pinging your opponent and dealing 1 damage to them, but it has the restriction of you having 7 cards in your graveyard. And if you're playing any sort of graveyard deck or any sort of, you know, even Spell Slinger, you should be able to get that pretty darn easily. Not a Phyrexian Arena hater, but a Phyrexian Arena, what's the word, skeptic? I have cut Phyrexian Arena from a lot of my decks over the years. I used to love Phyrexian Arena. It used to be a huge card that was just like, it was an auto play and auto include in so many Commander decks 10 years ago. I remember when I first got my first copy, I was so excited, all these things, right? The problem with Phyrexian Arena is even if you play it on turn 3, it takes until turn 6 for you to draw 3 cards and lose 3 life. You know what you could have done on turn 3? Play a Painful Truce. And you've done the exact same thing, but in 1 quick burst. And it's much better in my opinion. I think Phyrexian Arena might be one of them. That's a different video. Might be one of the most overplayed cards in Commander. If your games go super long, like 8 turns on minimum, then okay, you know what? Play Arena. But even then, like, we're assuming you're playing Phyrexian Arena on turn 3. Now, if you're Dark Ritualing it and playing it on turn 1, okay, you know what? Hey, that's some ball, brother. Fair enough. Well played. Hell yeah. That's kind of sick. That's kind of sick. What can you say, you know? But if you're playing a Phyrexian Arena on like turn 5, now you've got to get to turn 8 to get its value, and then even like you have to get to turn 9 or 10 to get more of its value. I would just so much rather play Painful Truths so much of the time than Phyrexian Arena, but it depends on your power levels, your pool, and how long your games are going. I'll be honest with you, that really depends. So, but Shoreline Looter, 1% inclusion rate versus the 15% of Phyrexian Arena. I think this card is super underrated and actually like super sick. So check it out as like a card draw engine, which is crazy. On top of doing a little bit of damage, and you can also really late game, you can like put a bunch of swords or equipments or like turn that into an unblockable threat that can end games. Like Shoreline Looter is a sneaky little rat that's actually kind of sick. Okay, next up, Sire of Stagnation. This card, I hate to say, because playing against this card sucks. I almost feel like this card should be in like every Dimir deck. I think it is a game-winning card. I think it's that good. I really want to get some packed foils of this card. This card is absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite sets of all time, Battle for Zendikar. It is 4 and Dimir, so 4 and a blue and a black for a 5/7 Eldrazi. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player exiles the top 2 cards of his or her library, and you draw 2 cards. If your opponent plays a fetch land, you just drew 4 cards. And by the way, it's Commander, you got 3 opponents. If all 3 of your opponents fetch on their turn, you just drew 12 cards in 1 turn cycle. That's obviously best case scenario, but the fact that this card punishes your opponents for hitting their land drops, so ridiculous. This card is insane. Rhystic Study, very good at 3 mana. You know, it's better than this obviously, but this card is like, this card is pushing. Am I crazy for thinking this card is pushing Rhystic Study territory? It's not as good, don't get me wrong, but drawing 2 cards per land drop is just insane. Now, players can play around it and stop hitting land drops, or the main thing here is it's a 6-mana creature, so the odds are, to some extent, maybe your opponents have just like slowed down and they're running out of land drops by that point. That's like the main downside here, but it's Commander. They should be hitting their land drops like long term. That shit matters a lot more in Commander versus 6-card formats. So I think this card is disgusting. I need to pick up more copies. I think it's not printed a ton. I think it's really interesting. I think this card is really, really good. It's just a game ender in Dimir, boys. Next up, Skeletal Scrying. Kind of a fun, like, this is kind of like a fun pull, an old card in Magic. There's so many old printings of this. Skeletal Scrying, X and a black for an instant. As an additional cost to it, you do have to exile X cards from your library, or from your graveyard, excuse me, from your graveyard. You draw X cards and lose X life. The flexibility here is relevant. Like, being able to just cast this for 2 and draw 1 card and lose 1 life is like fine. Being able to cast this for 6, right, and draw 5 or 6 cards, and you know, like, the flexibility, people do underestimate, I think, X spells in Commander. Flexibility is really, really nice in Commander. Being able to try to draw your lands if you're missing lands, being able to end the game if you have a ton of mana, right? Like, I think the flexibility is relevant. 0.16% inclusion, I think this card's underrated, man. I think it's really, really solid. Next up, Smeller B, Rebel Fighter, 3 and a red for a new card from Avatar. Human Rebel Ally, first strike, 3/3. Other creature control of haste. Okay, that's cool for a 4-mana creature. Whenever it attacks, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw cards equal to the number of attacking creatures. This could, like, the fact that it's number of attacking creatures, that could be a massive number. That could be so sick. I think this card is really cool. Even if it was just a 4-mana creature that gave your other creatures haste, that's already pretty solid for the body. The fact that it also has that effect, I think this card, not that it has first strike to help protect itself, so you can get this effect off multiple times potentially. I think this card is sick. I think it's underrated. Smeller B, it's in 0.59% of decks. Next up, I have some foil copies of this in my TCG player cart right now as I speak. Squeeze Revenge, 1 and a blue and a red for a sorcery from Apocalypse. Ban your set. Choose a number and then flip coins that many times or until you lose a flip. More coin flipping, boys. Whichever comes first. If you win all the flips, draw 2 cards for each flip. You have to decide at the start, okay? But the cool thing about this card is if you just decide to flip 2 coins and you win both flips, you're paying 3 mana to draw 4. That's already really good. I would almost always play this card and probably just choose 2 or 3 if I were you. Because if you're doing 3, you're drawing 6 cards off of 3 mana, but you have to win 3 flips in a row, right? Which is like a 12.5%. We did that earlier. 12.5% chance, right? And for 2 in a row, it's I don't know the math, but you go positive on the card. The problem is if you're playing this and you know this is a fun card, not a good card, to be honest with you. Obviously, it's pretty obvious to be fair. But you know what? Magic and Commander always needs more fun. So let's see what crazy moments you can have with Squeeze Revenge. It's a fun card. Check it out. Next up, this card is fun and I think it's good. I love Standstill in Commander and it warps the game around it. Standstill is 1 and 1 blue for an enchantment. Whenever a player plays a spell, you sacrifice Standstill, and if you do, each of that player's opponents draws 3 cards. So this is for an amazing card for decks that want to be slow and get to the end game. Like slow decks that want to be grindy, control-y, rampy, whatever it may be. If you're just trying to sit there, if your goal with your deck is to AFK, sit there and hit your land drops, Standstill is disgusting. Because you're going to play it on turn 2, and now your opponents have to decide, do I just play a spell and crack it immediately and have everybody else draw 3 cards except for me? Or do I just like hit my land drops and pass as well, right? And if you're the slower player, you're going to benefit from that more in the long term. So I think this card is really, it's political, it's fun, it's interesting. It is a pre-modern card and sometimes legacy played, so I think this card could go up in price over time, so please pick up your copies while you can. For $2 to $3 right now still. Really cool card. I absolutely adore Standstill. Next up, Stunning Reversal. This card is, come on, it's what Commander is all about. Yes, is it the most powerful card? No. But is it fun as hell? I want to pick up some Stunning Reversals and start playing these in decks. I think it's just a fun card, man. I love it, dude. 3 and a black for an instant. The next time you would lose the game this turn, instead, draw 7 cards and your life total becomes 1, and then you exile it. I think this is sick, man. This is just what Commander is all about. I will absolutely play this in more decks in the future, probably in T-Lord. This is the perfect kind of card to just have some fun, have some epic moments. This card was almost engineered to have those moments, which is almost kind of lame, but still kind of cool in my opinion. It is like $7, which is kind of shocking. So there's like a little bit of a price tag on it, obviously. So pick up a copy where you can. Next up, Temporary. I love old cards like this. Temporary Truce. I love Portal. Temporary Truce. 1 and a white. Each player may draw up to 2 cards for each player. For each card less than 2, any player draws, that player gains 2 life. So I think this is just like you can either draw. This is like so confusingly worded. You can either, everybody chooses. You either draw 2 cards, or draw 1 card and gain 2 life, or just gain 4 life. Pretty much everybody, this is pretty much going to be a pay 2 mana, everybody at the table draws 2 cards, which I think is fun and political and a good meme. It's also really cheap and a really cool card from an old set and a lot of fun. Next up, moving on, the Ever-Flowing Well. 2 and a blue. When it enters, you mill 2 cards and then draw 2 cards. That's already like pretty solid value if you want to mill yourself and get some cards in your graveyard. But it also says descend 8. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 8 or more permanents in your graveyard, you transform the well. And the well turns into a legendary artifact land that can tap for a blue, and says whenever you cast a permanent spell using the mana from the well, up to 1 other target permanent you control becomes a copy of that spell until end of turn. This is I'm sure this card's fun. It's fun, it's cool, it's high value, it's only in 0.65% of decks. What am I missing? This is a really sick card, man. It's a little slow, but it depends on if you're playing a Sultai graveyard deck. This card is, I think this card's a lot of fun. A lot of these cards, you just only get 100 cards in your deck, and it's just hard to slot these in over other things. That is the main thing a lot of these cards come down to. They are cool, fun cards that's just hard to put in over other cards, right? But sometimes it's good to take those creative liberties, in my opinion, and put in some of these fun cards over your Ponders, over your Brainstorms, etc., etc. Next up, the Legend of Kyoshi from Avatar. 4 and 2 green. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. I talked about how much I love that effect. It has Earthbend X, where X is the number of cards in your hand on the second saga phase. And then that land becomes an island in addition to its other types. And then finally, exile this saga and return to the battlefield under your control as Avatar Kyoshi, which then has lands you control have trample and hexproof, and you can tap it and add X mana of any one color, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. If this card was just the first effect and then this, it would be insane. Like that, like if this card was just 6 mana, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, and then 3 turns later it turned into this disgusting ramping menace, that would already be really, really, really good. The fact that it's got all this other mess in between, I think it's a great way to like analyze certain Magic cards these days. There's a lot of fluff on some of them. They do matter, don't get me wrong, but like sometimes just alienating effects like that really makes you realize like this is just a really powerful card, right? It's a $7 mythic from Avatar. It's in 2.2% of decks. I could see it being in like up to like 5% or so. Next up, the War in Heaven. 6 mana card, 3 and 3 black. You draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life. Okay, for 6 mana, not great. Let's keep reading. You then mill 3 cards on the second saga phase. The third saga phase is choose up to 3 target creature cards with total CMC 8 or less in your graveyard and return each of them to the battlefield with a Necrodermis counter on it. They are artifacts in addition to their other types. This card is really, really solid. 6 mana to draw 3 cards, and then eventually, get back. You're yourself milling as well to fuel the third one, and then getting back a bunch of creatures. You could get back a Protein Hall. You could get back, you know, any combination of like Protein Hall package or combo. This card is 0.21% of decks. Like, come on. The biggest downside here is just waiting the 3 turns to get the full effect. That's you know, a little slow, a fair bit slow. Let's be a medium slow to be fair, you know. But I think this card has a lot of value packed into it for the money cost and the mana cost. I think this card is really, really solid and a cool one worth thinking about and considering for future decks. Thickest in the Thicket. So that's my nickname for your mom. 3 and 2 green for an enchantment. When it enters, you put X ++1 counters on target creature, where X is that creature's power. So you're doubling a creature's power and giving it some extra toughness, of course. At the beginning of your end step, draw 2 cards if you control the creature with the greatest power or tied for. Draw the fact that it's 2. If that was 1, I wouldn't like this card as much. The fact that it is draw 2, I really like this card. That is a big difference. It has a big difference. 5 mana to essentially double a creature's power and toughness permanently, as well as getting that draw at the end step. And it's not like someone else gets it if they have the highest. It's only if you have the highest. This card is sick in about 1% of decks. 42 cents. This is a really good budget-friendly, fantastic green card that does green things and draws you cards. Next up, Tolarian Winds. Cool old card from 7th edition, bro. 1 and a blue for an instant. Instant speed is relevant. Discard your hand and draw that many cards. Simple, clean, beautiful. It's $1 for this old beautiful card. It's in 1% of decks. Tolarian Winds. Check it out. Consider it for future options. And also, it fuels your graveyard. All those wheels, they fuel your graveyard. Gotta think about that. Next up, Treacherous Greed. One, an Orzhov, so a white and a black, for an instant. As an additional task to this, sacrifice a creature that dealt damage this turn. That's the tough restriction here. That is a decently narrow restriction that you have to kind of play around and factor in. But it can also be political. You can also tell someone like, hey, can I please deal damage to you this turn? I just want to draw cards. I swear that's it, right? And then hit them with the draw 3 cards and each opponent loses their life and you gain 3 life. This is a really, I think, really solid, interesting card for aristocrat style strategies that should be considered for 3 mana. I think you get the sack benefits. If you're playing Grim Haruspex or other cards that let you draw cards, you sack a creature, you're actually drawing like 4 cards. Like, you know, you could be getting other benefits. You could be using Lifeline to abuse this even more. I think this card is sick. In 0.50% of decks, 30-cent card, really cheap, really budget friendly, really fun. Moving on. Visions of Beyond, 1 blue for an instant, draw a card, and then if a graveyard has 20 or more cards in it, draw 3 cards. Dude, in my dredge decks, in my graveyard decks, I better have 20 or more cards in my graveyard or I'm trolling. I'm losing that game if I don't, you know? Like, this is sick. This is a really cool Ancestral Recall variant, right? Obviously not nearly as powerful. That's the, you know, it's a different, you know, different thing, right? But that, I think it's a cool, also just cycling this for 1 worst case scenario is really relevant. Most cycle effects will cost you 2, right? To like pay 2 mana, discard or use that card, draw a card. The fact that this is a 1 mana cycle is very, 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 very relevant. And the fact that it's an instant speed 1 mana cycle is very, 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 very relevant. This card's awesome. Check it out. Next up, Voracious Bibliophile, 3 and a blue for a dragon with flying and vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell with 1 or more targets, draw that many cards. This is pretty niche and would have to go in a deck built around this style of strategy, but it also can be things that target your own creatures, not just, you know, not just kill spells that target multiple creatures, but things that target multiple of your own creatures' buffs, right? This is awesome. This is a really cool, it's a pretty narrow effect, pretty specific, but this is a very, very powerful card tacked onto a 4 mana, 3/3 flying vigilance body. That's evasion and vigilance. That's a relevant body in Commander. Very, very, you can attack someone who doesn't have a flying blocker and then still have your flying blocker for other people if they have big dragons, right? This card is really sick. It's only in 0.45% of decks. Next up, Whirlpool Rider, 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a Merfolk, very relevant creature type. When Whirlpool Rider comes into play, shuffle cards from your hand into your library and draw that many cards. I think it's cool to have these wheel style of effects on top of creatures. So you can play this. There's so many decks, like when you play Glimpse of Nature style of effects, right? Where you play, you draw a card. You can get extra benefits off of this. The fact that it's not just an instant or sorcery is very, very important, right? The fact that you can leave behind a 1/1 body, that's what makes Satyr Wayfinder so good. Satyr Wayfinder isn't just a sorcery or an instant that, you know, mills 4 cards, you get a land back. It's a 1/1 creature that fuels your graveyard, gets you a land, helps you stay on curve. Like it leaves behind a body to sacrifice, to use for those, you know, cards we mentioned earlier, right? Where you sacrifice a creature as extra benefit. Leaving behind a body is very, very important, even if it's just a 1/1 body to chump block. That extra value goes a very, very long way. This is in 0.16% of decks. That's crazy, man. This is a very, very cool card and a very cool Merfolk. Another Merfolk that is incredibly underrated, but it's at least, is it Merfolk? So, okay, a little bit more restrictive, makes sense. 2 and a blue for a Merfolk Warrior, so 3 mana for a 2/2 Merfolk. When it enters the battlefield, shuffle cards from your hand into your library and draw that many cards. Same thing as the last one, but this also has an extra tacked on effect. 1 red, sacrifice it, and then each player shuffles their hand into their library and draws that many cards. So at first it's just you, and then you can do it again for 1 mana and have everybody do it. I think this is a really cool card. Multiple wheels, 2 wheels in 1 card like this is pretty sick. Definitely worth considering. That is Whirlpool Warrior. Next up, Winged Words. Should be in any commander deck with a flying commander, in my opinion. This card is just 2 and a blue. Draw 2 cards. This spell costs 1 less if you control a creature with flying. If your commander has flying, 2 mana to draw 2 cards. Like, we're trying to loop, you know, run through loops with Predict earlier. This card is consistent. Like, you should be playing this over Harmonize every single time. Like, this card is so much better than things like that, in my opinion. If your commander has flying, that is a very important, very big stipulation. If not, I wouldn't worry about it nearly as much. Next up, this card is really fun. I love cards like this. Words of Wisdom. It's an old card from Odyssey, 77 cents, cheap card in less than 0.50% of decks. You draw 2 cards and everybody draws 2 cards. Sorry, one card. You draw 2 cards, then each other player draws a card. It's also instant. Instant's very important. Instant effect. You draw 2, everybody else draws 1. So it's not even like fully parallel. I think this card is really, really interesting, fun, political, helps people get out of droughts and floods, and makes for a fun commander experience. Next up, Yes Man, Personal Securitron, more of a kind of like a Humble Defector style of effect, if I recall correctly. 2 and a white, so 3 mana for a 2/2 creature. Has a tap effect. Target opponent gains control of Yes Man. When they do, you draw 2 cards and put a quest counter on it. So it's a Humble Defector plus a little more. You draw 2 cards and then give it away to someone with a quest counter on it. And then when Yes Man leaves the battlefield, not just dies, but leaves, its owner creates a tapped 1/1 white soldier token for each quest counter on it. So you can keep passing this around, get it back to you. If you play a deck that can abuse this and sacrifice him once it's back to you, that's where you want to play this kind of card. You know, this is much better than Humble Defector, in my opinion, because you can try to make it a little bit more one-sided and get those soldiers if you can. But someone else could also use that against you. So be a bit careful, right? Very cool card, though. Probably a really fun commander to play, honestly. In less than 1% of decks at the moment. About $1. Cool Fallout card. Also one of the best characters in Fallout because he does whatever you say. Easy peasy. There you go. Next up, Yuna's Decision. 3 and a green for a sorcery from the new Fallout. Or sorry, not Fallout. Fuck. The new Final Fantasy set. It's funny to see a Final Fantasy card being what I would call underplayed in Commander. That's really interesting. Choose 1. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, draw a card, and you may put a creature card or a land card and or from your hand onto the battlefield. Or the other option is return 1 or 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Let's stick to that first option. Sacrifice a creature, and then you draw, so you get more looks at more options. Sacrifice a creature, draw a card, and then put a creature and a land onto the... Am I missing something, or is this card nuts? Why is this 37 cents? Why is this only in 0.6% of decks? This card is amazing. This card is sacrifice a creature, draw a card, and then show and tell just for you. But it's not even just show and tell. It's 2 things. It's a creature and a land. This card is nuts. This card is some of these cards I am like, okay, I understand why they're not played that much. They're like fun and niche and narrow, whatever. This card is insane. This card should be played more. This card is really, really just good, you know? Next up, the final card, card number 100 on this list, Ancestral Vision. I think that paying 1 blue and then having to wait 4 turns to draw 3 cards is still paying 1 blue to draw 3 cards. It's still like, you know, the commander, like if you're playing this on turn 5, it sucks, to be fair. If you're playing this on turn 1, 2, or 3, you're gonna get those cards in the game. It's gonna be relevant. I'm happy with this. I want to play this a bit more in decks. Like a Maelstrom Wanderer. This is fantastic in Maelstrom. He mentioned Maelstrom Wanderer again. Take a shot, take a drink. This is fantastic in Maelstrom because if you cascade into it, you're drawing 3 cards. That's really good. That's a perfect cascade, right? Or Maelstrom's biggest thing is that the longer the game goes, the greater his chances of winning. The hardest part of Maelstrom is those early turns are very slow, and if someone puts too much damage onto you, you might just die, right? So this can help you. Not amazing, but it can help you. It gives you something to do in those early turns. A lot of times you don't have a ton to do. You're mixing your, like, how much ramp do you put in, how much of it is like high expensive ramp versus like you don't want like rampant growth in your Maelstrom deck. That's not worth it because you're gonna cascade into it and ruin your cascade, right? I think this is a card that you are happy to play early with Maelstrom and extract some value and help you get there, or happy to cascade into. And that's a rare, like, cool special combo. I think this is a pretty cool card. Played about 1%. I could see it being like 2% or so. But it's also really cheap. It's a 33-cent card. I think that's a lot of fun. The art is also gorgeous on this. But that is the final card I wanted to talk about today. If you made it until the end of this video, you are my hero. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found at least 1 card that was worth adding to your decks or worth considering from this point forward. If you did not find a single card that you thought was cool and worth adding, call me stinky in the comments. I deserve it at that point. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Dislike if you did not. Subscribe to the channel to help a growing little guy play some Magic, talk about Magic, and just really just go on the internet and just ramble about things I'm just interested in. This video spurred from the fact that I wanted wanted to do a top 10 list. I wanted to make a top 10 list of underrated card draw options in Commander, and I became so enthralled in browsing Strifefall that I accidentally ended up with 100 cards instead of 10. So whoops, that's how this video came to be. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you liked it. Subscribe, like, all that jazz. Have a great day. Play Magic cards you enjoy. Have some fun and lead into the craziness in Commander. That's kind of the point to some extent, when you can, obviously. If you want to. If you don't want to, fair enough. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later. For now, goodbye. Peace, Reno.